Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into an exciting what-if scenario. What if Naruto was reborn with a system? How would his journey change if he was given a second chance with powers beyond his imagination? Would he become the strongest shinobi in the world, or face even more challenges than before? Let's find out. But before we get into this epic adventure, I need your support to hit 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, and share it with your friends who love Naruto. Your support helps me create more awesome content like this. Now let's jump right into this what if and explore how Naruto's story would unfold with a system. "What's this?" said a man with relatively normal looks and black hair. He could be seen floating in a bright white room. "Well, this sucks. I always thought I'd die in a cool way, like saving people from a burning building, not in my room from my phone dropping on my face," the man said in a tone of disgust, sounding almost like a whimpering dog. "You are a pathetic sight." A bright light, eerily resembling a woman's voice, said. "Who the hell are you? And why did you insult me like that?" the man snapped. Huff, the strange figure made a childish sound. "Tisk," said the black-haired man. "Anyway, I'm bored, so I'm going to reincarnate you somewhere," the strange light said, surging forward nonchalantly. "What do you mean by somewhere? And why are you bored?" the irritated man said, clearly annoyed. "It's exactly what I said. I'll randomly reincarnate you into a random world with random abilities." The man stared in disbelief. "I don't get it, but I'd like some more information if you don't mind," he asked cautiously. "As a benevolent being, I'll provide you with the information you seek later," the light responded, clearly feeling superior. "So, what the heck happened to me? Why am I here?" Confusion spread over the man's face as the gravity of the situation started to sink in. It was clear the moment realization hit him, like the damn phone that killed him. "What, did you really have me die in such a lame way?" the man growled, sounding like a feral dog. "Is the fact that you died in such a lame way the reason you're angry?" the light asked, sounding perplexed. "Of course, I'm upset about dying, but seriously, I'd have preferred a cooler death," the man said. "That's strange. You're quite different from most of your kind," the light said, its voice curious. Then, suddenly, it boomed. "Well, anyway, I'll send you to any universe you want, with any skills you can think of within a certain range." The man was blown back, his hair flying. "Damn, that's intense. Can you tone it down a little?" he yelled over the booming voice of the light. "Right, I forgot. You're still acclimating to this plane," the light said, sounding a bit embarrassed. "It's fine, but I do have a few questions." "What exactly is this certain range?" the man asked, curious. "The range is based on your karma, or the amount of good deeds you've done. And it looks like you've racked up quite a lot, considering you were ex-military," the light explained. Indeed, this man had been one of the best soldiers in the world in his previous life. In America, he was considered a super soldier and a hero, while in other countries, he was seen as a devil or monster. "So, if I have a lot of points, I get a lot of freedom with my wishes?" the protagonist asked, double-checking. "Clap, clap, clap. You figured it out. Wow, you're smarter than most humans," the light said. "I can't tell if you're making fun of me or not," the man said, clearly annoyed. "Well, can I ask how many points I have and how it translates into wishes?" the man asked. "You have 10,000 points, which translates to 6 wishes," the light said nonchalantly. "What? That's so many points," the man exclaimed, flabbergasted. "But if I have so many points, why do I only get 6 wishes?" he asked. "There's a simple explanation. Wishes are expensive," the light replied. "Please explain," the man requested. "No," said the light. "Okay," the man said, still extremely confused. "Now let's continue. What world would you like to go to?" the light asked. "Well, I'd like to go to the world of Naruto and be born at the same time as the main character," the man replied eagerly. "Done. Now, what are your wishes?" the light asked. "Well, I need to think about that," the man thought to himself. "If I'm in the world of Naruto, I'll need to be strong and smart," he muttered to himself. "All right, I'm ready." "Okay, state your wishes," the light said coolly. "I want extreme intellect, an adaptable body, a leveling system, the abilities of the Kurama clan, and chakra capacity on par with the Jinchuriki." Also, can you change the world to make it more reliable for me? The man said. Are these your final wishes? The glowing orb asked. Yes, the man replied. Then go and live your best life, the light said. With a blinding flash that somehow eclipsed the white room, the man was sent to his new world. When he awoke, he opened his eyes and saw a woman with green eyes and black hair, who looked stunning. T. Takahashi, that's your name? The woman said with a face that seemed to have endured great pain, yet her expression still showed happiness. What? The protagonist tried to say, but all that came out was a gurgle before he passed out. 2 days later, I've officially been in Naruto for 2 days, and I'm a baby. My mother is gone, probably dead. I feel sad, but I didn't know her. I've been living in an orphanage with the demon brat, Naruto. I've been too tired to stay awake, but whatever. 5 years later, Takahashi, a child called, running up to a black-haired, green-eyed boy. What do you want, Tsubasa? The boy asked. Play with me, the child said. Okay, the boy replied. After a while, the boy went to his room and began writing in a book. Hi, it's me, Takahashi. I'm 5 years old, and I've been playing with the other orphans. I haven't been playing with Naruto, though. I tried, but a caretaker always took me away. Takahashi closed the book and walked out into the hallway, only to see Naruto being pushed out of the orphanage, crying. Why are you doing this? Naruto asked between sobs. Because you're a demon, the person said, slamming the door behind him. Takahashi felt a pang in his chest. After a while, he opened the door to see the crying boy and offered his hand. Are you okay? Takahashi asked. Naruto looked up but didn't stop crying. Takahashi sat next to him. Soon, an old man in a white robe and hat appeared, looking surprised. Naruto, what are you doing out here? The old man asked, clearly not understanding why he was out on the street. I was thrown out, Naruto said, still crying. The old man, with an angry look, took the boy away without acknowledging Takahashi. Takahashi watched him walk away and then went back to his normal routine. Walking down the dirt road, he came across a green, 2-story building labeled Higaku's library. As it stated, it was a library, a normal library. He went inside, picked up a book titled History, and suddenly a mechanical voice echoed in his mind. Book acquired. Takahashi smirked, knowing he had his own system. The book he picked up was advanced for a 5-year-old, Ninja History. He read for a while, and then went back to the orphanage. Tsubasa tackled him. Where have you been, bro? Tsubasa asked excitedly. Out. Takahashi replied blankly, not feeling like talking after witnessing such cruelty. That's not fair. I've been so bored, Tsubasa said. Takahashi smiled. Let's get inside. He supposed he'd grown fond of the boy, but the image of Naruto's crying blue eyes and shining blonde hair lingered in his mind. Thinking out loud, Takahashi said, maybe I should get to know more people. Today, I woke up and decided to go for a run around the village to try to gain some new skills. I threw on a pair of small black pants and a matching shirt, just the right fit for my 5-year-old frame. As I walked out of the orphanage, I spotted Tsubasa, the little boy from the village. He energetically called out to me, Hey, big bro, do you want to play with me? I looked at him and politely replied, Sorry, I'm busy right now, but I'll play when I get back. He looked a bit disappointed, but nodded and went back to playing with his ball. I ran through the village, sticking to the quieter areas. It wasn't a bad place, just quieter with fewer shops and attractions, so not many villagers hung around. My legs started to feel numb and tired, but then I suddenly heard a ding in my head. A screen popped up in front of me, and a mechanical voice announced, You have gained a new game skill, Running Level 1. This skill increases the user's speed by 2% when activated. Consumes 3 energy points EP. A small sense of pride swelled inside me, but I wasn't done yet. I kept running, and by the end of the day, I had leveled up the skill to level 3, which increased my speed by 4% and consumed only 2 EP. I guess the maximum EP could be 1, or maybe I could reduce it to 0 with enough practice. I said this out loud to pass the time when suddenly I tripped, and as I got back up, I saw a boy with blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes. It was Naruto Uzumaki. He looked at me curiously and asked in his usual loud, brash way, Hey, do you want to play with me? I remembered seeing him cry the other day, and decided to spend some time with him. I said, "Sure, what do you want to play?" He looked shocked as if he expected me to run off, but then he replied, "Well, I don't really know. I haven't played with many people." With a smirk, I suggested, "How about tag?" He smiled so widely, I thought his face might split in half. We ran across the village playing tag. To my surprise, Naruto was pretty fast, especially considering he hadn't trained much, as far as I knew. But with my new skill, I could keep up fairly well. Running around the village was great practice too. It could come in handy for ninja work. What else was I going to do in a ninja village? Become a farmer. Not exactly my idea of fun. After about 2 hours, Naruto started to slow down. He was breathing heavily and said, "You're pretty fast. That was fun. We should do it again sometime. But I'm really hungry. Want to get some ramen?" I thought about it for a second. Getting ramen with the main character of the series I was in? Why not? I grinned and said, "Sure, I could go for some food." As we walked to Ichiraka Ramen, I asked, "So, how have you been?" His expression shifted to something more somber as he replied, "I've been fine. Gigi-sama gave me an apartment to stay at, and I have money, so I can buy food for myself." I studied his face and said, "That's good. I'll have to visit you sometime." We walked in a comfortable silence until we reached the ramen stand. Naruto's face lit up as he yelled, "Hey, old man, get me some ramen. I am starving." I raised an eyebrow. "Wow, you have zero respect," I said, stunned. The old man grinned and said, "What can I get for you?" Naruto pointed at me and said, "This guy, he's my friend. I met him today. We had a great time." I smiled and greeted the old man. "Hi, I'm Takahashi. Nice to meet you." The old man laughed. "Don't you have any manners?" I smirked and replied, "Guess I'm just more mannered than Uzumaki here." The old man chuckled. "What can I get for you?" he asked. I hesitated a bit and then said, can I get pork ramen?" I wasn't exactly sure how all the ramen worked. After all, I wasn't from Japan. "Coming right up," the old man replied with a smile. Naruto and I sat down, chatting comfortably about different types of ramen he liked. I was thinking maybe I should try more ramen. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Daily mission completed. Confused, I checked the screen, and it said, "Daily mission. Befriend the Uzumaki. Mission completed. 3,000 XP earned. Level increased by 2. Current level, 5. HP plus 50, now 150. EP plus 20, now 250. I was stunned. So there are secret daily missions I can complete? I thought, if I keep going, I might be able to level up more and more every day. Who knows? Maybe I'll even beat Sasuke once I get into the academy. As the ramen came, Naruto devoured it like it was his last meal. Before I knew it, I'd finished mine and Naruto had eaten 20 bowls. I laughed and said, "Wow, your stomach must be absurdly large." He smiled back. "Well, I did just run all over the village." I chuckled and said, "Well, I gotta get back to the orphanage. But I'll see you tomorrow." Naruto's face dropped slightly, but then he brightened up again and said, "See you tomorrow, Takahashi." I headed back to the orphanage, keeping my promise to Tsubasa and playing with him for a while before he went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Instead, I worked out in my room, doing simple exercises. Ding! Notifications kept popping up about my physical level. Exercising helped increase my strength, and I gained experience for it. It wasn't much, but over time, it would add up. By the end of the night, I had leveled up to level 6. Sweaty and tired, I looked at myself in the small mirror in my room, noticing my black hair and green eyes. Maybe I'll be a handsome kid someday, I thought to myself, then went to bed, ready for what tomorrow would bring. Tomorrow would be a new day, the precursor to the Ninja Academy. First, we'd have to take a test to see if we were capable of joining. We'd have to meet certain physical standards and demonstrate abilities like stealth and theoretical knowledge. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. I was woken up early by the head caretaker banging on my door. "Get up, Takahashi. It's time to go to the academy to apply for the ninja course." I got dressed, went outside, and saw the caretaker smiling at me. But all I could see was the sneer she'd had when she kicked Naruto out of the orphanage, and I couldn't help feeling angry. She took me and a few others to the entrance of the academy. I noticed the guy who had come to pick up Naruto after he was kicked out. He didn't acknowledge me, but I understood. I wouldn't have paid attention either if my adopted grandson had been kicked out of the orphanage. The Hokage gave a speech. The path we have chosen is full of hazards, as all paths are, but it is the one most consistent with our character and courage as a nation. Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom. And that path shall never be one of surrender or submission. If I were an actual 5-year-old, I probably would have been inspired, but since I was at least 25 in my last life and had been a soldier, it didn't do much for me. Soon, the test began. I didn't think Naruto would do well on the theoretical portion, but for stealth and physical parts, he'd do fine. Their standards weren't too strict. Even if some didn't pass, they'd likely be kept in reserve. Waste not, want not. A few days later, I got a letter from the head caretaker. I had been accepted into the Ninja Academy and would be moving into my own place. It was a fancy way of saying the orphanage wanted me out to make room for others. But, like Naruto, I would get money to live on, though probably a little less considering how the Hokage favored him. The academy officially starts in a week, so I had some time to kill. I spent the time exercising to level up. By the end, I was at level 8 with an HP of 300 and an EP of 500. Not bad, but when I started using more energy-consuming skills, it would seem low. My new beginner fighting style skill consumed 50 EP per second, so I had a lot more work ahead of me. A week has passed so far, and I've been training hard every day, focusing on the basics. In the ninja world, staying physically fit is essential, so I've been doing various exercises to keep in shape. I've also been playing tag with Naruto, and while doing that, I've been working on my stealth skills, trying to hide from him and make myself harder to find. Lately, I've been spending more and more time at the library, researching different shinobi, including those from other villages. I've found myself particularly interested in figures like Sasori of the Red Sand and Tobarama Senju. Along with studying Jinjutsu, I've become fascinated with the puppet arts that originated from the Sand Village. The idea of controlling puppets really caught my attention, so I decided to dive deeper into it. There's not a lot of information on it in my village, but what I've gathered is that the art involves using ninja wire to control mechanical beings of various shapes and sizes. To learn this art, I'll need to pick up some engineering skills, which isn't too difficult for me since I've spent my free time making things. For example, I recently created a hidden blade similar to the ones from the Assassin's Creed games. It's not as advanced as the ones in those games, but it serves its purpose with a mechanism to deliver poison, similar to how a needle would inject a patient. Today's the day I finally entered the academy. I woke up in my small apartment. It was cramped, with just enough room for a bed and some essentials. The living room and kitchen were in the other area, and my bedroom was tiny, not even half the size of the room I had at the orphanage. I threw on my usual black pants and black shirt, but this time, I wore my hidden blade under the long sleeves of my shirt. As I stepped out of my apartment, I saw others heading to the academy for their first day too. The walk there took about 20 minutes. When I arrived, I was greeted by a receptionist who asked for my letter of invitation. After showing it to her, she directed me to my classroom. By coincidence, I ended up in the same class as the main cast. I quickly found a seat next to the energetic blonde, who greeted me enthusiastically. "Hey Takahashi, are you excited?" "I am. I can't wait to learn all the great ninjutsu." I looked at him and smiled. "Well, I don't think we'll be learning any awe-inspiring jutsu on the first day, but yeah, I'm excited too." As the excited children bickered, I looked around and spotted the main cast. Shikamaru was already asleep at his desk, while his best friend Choji was munching on chips. Ino and Sakura were talking animatedly, and Shino was quietly observing the class, much like me. Then I spotted Sasuke Uchiha, the emo king himself, sitting alone in a corner. I knew he had a reputation as a jerk, but I couldn't help but notice how lonely and downcast he seemed, much like Naruto. Maybe I'll try to befriend him, though I'm not sure how that will turn out. Soon, Irika-sensei walked in and quieted the class by yelling, his head seemingly growing larger with steam pouring from his ears. After calming down, he introduced himself. "All right, now that I have your attention, I'm Irika, and I'll be your instructor for the foreseeable future. Who wants to go next?" The class fell silent until the brash dog lover Kiba stood up. "My name is Kiba Inazuka, and I'm better than all of you losers," he said arrogantly. This kicked off a shouting match, with Naruto and others among the group yelling back. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be the Hokage," he declared. The class burst into laughter, but Naruto remained determined. I couldn't help but agree with him. Sooner or later, they'd all see that Naruto had what it took. When it was my turn, I stood up and introduced myself. "Hello, my name is Takahashi, and I'm excited to be learning here." My voice had a hint of fake enthusiasm, but I kept a smile on my face before sitting back down. After a few more introductions, Sasuke Uchiha stood up, oozing pride. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha, and I'm going to be the head of my clan." This Sasuke seemed different. He hadn't experienced the losses that shaped his future self, and it felt odd to hear so much emotion in his voice. After all the introductions, Irika-sensei led us outside for our first lesson, Shuriken Jutsu, the art of throwing shuriken. We would each take turns hitting a target on a dummy, aiming for vital areas. When it was my turn, I threw the first shuriken and hit the left side of the dummy. My accuracy had decreased a bit, likely due to the changes in my body from growth, but I quickly improved on my next attempts. I heard a ding in my head, and a message appeared. Shuriken throwing level 1 increased. Accuracy with thrown shuriken improved. Afterward, Naruto went up and missed all of his throws, but he still smiled and kept his confidence high. I congratulated him. "You'll get it, that's why we're here," I said with a grin. Next up was Sasuke, and unsurprisingly, he hit every target perfectly, showcasing his Uchiha skill. After everyone finished their turn, we went back inside. The rest of the day was spent listening to Irika-sensei talk about history and other subjects we would cover throughout the year. By the end of the day, Naruto was asleep at his desk, bored out of his mind. I nudged him awake. "Hey Naruto, wake up, it's time to go." He stretched and yawned. "All right, let's get out of here," he said. On our way out, he asked, "Hey, you want to grab some ramen to celebrate?" I saw no reason not to, so I agreed. "Sure, that sounds nice. I could go for a bowl." We went to the ramen shop, ate, and had a good time. When it was time to part ways, I headed back to my apartment, or so it seemed. In truth, I was heading to one of the training grounds to use my time to practice throwing shuriken and level up my skills. After about 5 hours of training, my shuriken throwing had reached level 4. Not bad, I thought to myself. By then, I was exhausted. It had been a long day, and I knew I'd need some rest before tomorrow. I couldn't wait to see what the Academy would bring next. Though if Sakura's passing of the Ninja Academy is any indication, I doubt we'll be doing any strenuous exercises. With a smile on my face, I headed back to my apartment, excited for what tomorrow would bring. In the morning, I woke up still tired from last night's intense training session. I groaned and rolled over to the left side of my bed to check the time, only to realize I didn't have a clock. Damn, I must be missing my old world more than I thought. I thought to myself, well, might as well get ready anyway. I decided, opening a small drawer to grab my regular clothes. Looking out the small window, I noticed it was still early, plenty of time before the academy. So, I decided to work out and think, how will I learn more about puppet arts? Konoha doesn't have much information on engineering, which will be important for my research. I'll probably have to improvise. I kept thinking about the ninja arts. I should get a notebook. It would help me keep track of my thoughts. I think the academy gives those for free to orphans. About 30 minutes later, it was time to go to the academy. I arrived and took my seat. Once all the students were there and Irika-sensei arrived, he started his lecture on history. I was bored out of my mind. I understand the importance of history, but let's be real. This is a military school where we learn how to fight and kill for the village's goals. The lecture finally ended, and Irika-sensei announced, "All right, students, let's go outside. We're going to spar. Learning the academy's taijutsu style will help you in real battles." We headed outside, and I heard Shikamaru grumble, "What a drag." We spent about an hour learning the academy's taijutsu style, and then Irika-sensei said, "All right, your opponent will be chosen at random. Remember, don't go too hard and hurt your opponent too badly. Let's begin." Most of the civilian kids faced off against each other, except for a few like Ino, Hinata, and Shino. When Choji and Shikamaru went up, they both forfeited. I had to admit, it was pretty funny. Choji was a big softie, and Shikamaru was too lazy to bother. Sasuke versus Takahashi. Iruka-sensei called out. My heart clenched. I might have joked about beating him, but I wasn't serious, I thought, panicking. Then I heard the familiar ding. New skill acquired. Observation level 1. Observing Sasuke Uchiha. Level 15. Health 700. Cannot observe further. Oh man, I thought as I walked to the ring and stood across from Sasuke. Iruka-sensei looked at both of us and said, "Begin." We stood still for a moment before Sasuke broke the silence and came at me with a right hook aimed at my chin. I stepped back just enough to avoid the hit. Off balance, he tried to follow up with a straight punch to my face, but I twisted my body, placing both hands on the ground and kicked my leg out to strike him in the stomach. He stumbled back to the edge of the ring. I got up and moved towards Sasuke to throw a left hook at his chin. He blocked it, but I threw a right hook right after, landing a clean shot that jolted him. He kicked me away, and we exchanged more punches. He landed a fast punch to my stomach, pushing me back toward the edge of the ring. Using my running skill and beginner taijutsu, I quickly regained my stance. Our fight devolved into a series of punches, kicks, and blocks. Eventually, I grabbed Sasuke's arm, twisted him, and pinned him to the ground by his neck. Winner, Takahashi, Iruka-sensei announced. The room went quiet for a moment, then erupted into cheers. You cheated, I heard from Sasuke's fangirls, but I ignored them. I walked back to stand with Naruto, while some other kids congratulated me. Great job, Takahashi. Show him who's boss, my boisterous friend cheered. I could have done way better, the dog boy said arrogantly, but I didn't pay him any attention as he argued with my friend. Iruka-sensei quickly shut them down, and we headed back inside to finish the day as usual. At the end of the day, I approached Iruka-sensei. Hey sensei, can I have a notebook? I asked politely. Since you asked so nicely, he said with a smile, pulling out a black hardback notebook and handing it to me. Ding, notebook acquired. 200 pages. Title, none. Thank you, Iruka-sensei. I'll make sure to put it to good use, I said, heading home. Once I got home, I immediately started jotting down my ideas. The first thing I want to work on is chakra armor. It would be chakra conductive and able to absorb kinetic force, then redirect it however I choose. As for the design, I'm thinking of a full face mask and light, flexible armor that's still strong enough to absorb powerful hits. I'll add straps to hold weapons like a sword, holsters for my shuriken and kunai, and more. I also have ideas for puppets I can use in battle. Most of them will be animal-based, but I've thought of a mask that could modify jutsu, like turning a fireball jutsu into a water jutsu without using extra chakra. The puppets could have extendable arm blades, a cannon arm, and even an exoskeleton to enhance my strength. I could incorporate that into my chakra armor. A big idea I had is a chakra core, a powerful battery for my puppets. Since controlling puppets requires the chakra string technique, I could only manage about 10 strings at once. This battery would let me control even more puppets and extend their range. It could revolutionize not just puppetry, but the entire ninja world. Think of it like an electric car engine, or even something more advanced. As I wrote, I realized how physically drained I was from fighting Sasuke and mentally exhausted from Iruka-sensei's lectures. I think it's time for bed, I said out loud. I need to rest up for tomorrow. I'm pretty sure we're going to learn chakra manipulation soon, or at least that's what I gathered from Iruka-sensei's lecture. I got up, took off my clothes, and climbed into bed, though I had forgotten to make myself something to eat. Not that it was anything new. Sigh. I gained a lot from defeating Sasuke and my nightly activities, but I still couldn't help but be cautious. Well, no use in waiting, let's jump right in. With a determination clearly seen in my eyes, I clicked accept. Suddenly the area changed slightly. The graveyard became larger and sectioned into 4 different sections with wall surrounding them, and 5th in the center with a hexagonal pattern wall. I suddenly heard ding. You are currently in section 1. I climbed to the top of a wall there. I could see many guards and zombies there. I used my observation skill. My system voice said observations, activated target zombie level 5 HP 30. I could probably take them on, but there are a lot of them. I'll divide and conquer. I jumped down taking no damage and ran towards the zombies there. I activated my novice taijutsu skill. I punched the zombie in his head, and since I surprised it, I got crit damage, its head exploded, and I ran backwards and 2 of the 4 chased. After getting far enough, I kicked one in the stomach, its health hit 0, the other tried to claw me, I simply stepped back, then I right hooked him, and it's also hit 0 and died. Next, I threw a handful of shuriken. I hit both, one was hit in the head and died while the other stayed standing. I noticed that this one was different. Ding. My system sounded and said skill observations has leveled up to unique skill general observations using skill target. Ninja zombie. This zombie used to be a ninja before it died. In the 9-tailed beast attack, he is particularly scaled in the Tonto arts. HP 100 ST 25. Nice, the skill leveled up, although the name may be a little weird. I mean, seeing observations a bit redundant. The ninja zombie had a katana with a wooden handle, a weathered bronze-looking Tsubasa or guard. The blade was silvery, and the blunt edge looked as if it was a type of Damascus steel. As I was looking at the blade, the zombie stuck in a horizontal line. I quickly pulled out a kuni, and I was barely able to block, but the blade must have had a special effect, because I still took damage lest I'm wrong. I was now at 546 HP and EP 612. I canceled my novice Taijutsu skill to recover EP, and before the ninja zombie could attack, I threw one of my kunai at its head and me, along with a few shuriken. That killed it, although I was now running low on throwable weapons. As I was calming down from the agenda line of the fact, I noticed 4 glowing lights. The one in front of me was light blue. When I focused more on it, revealed itself to be the sword the ninja zombie I had just defeated. I used the Maimiru observation skill. Ding. I heard as a sign that the skill was working target katana. The sword of a relatively unknown ninja named Ryo Hikaru, rank uncommon. The katana has the ability to increase damage and durability when feeling strong emotions like determination and anger. This sword was passed down through the Hikaru family, a small ninja family. Damage 15 when skillies active, 50 damage, 100 durability. They live by the words protect what you do not wish to lose, no matter the cost. I read these words and truly I felt them. I mean, I fought for my country for just that reason. As looked closely, I found a scabbard with the kanji for love. The blade looks weathered, but it's free and it has a good skill, but I'll wait to us it when I have more experience. I thought out loud to pass time in this dreary place. Ding. I heard from my system. New skill acquired. Kunai fighting with kunai like daggers increase damage when fighting by 5%, consumes 20 EP per second, level 1. I continued to look at the other lights. The others were white and were common components like different bones, as weird as that was. I continued on in the graveyard, kill mini zombie, and finished all zones except the one in the middle. All in all, I earned about 1006x and leveled up to level 22. I felt confident enough to enter the last zone. I approached its hexagonal walls, one lowered into the ground slowly. As I was walking inside, I felt shiver go down my spine. I saw an empty field, but in the middle was one single grave that had carved in the stone, "Here lies Gunnar Asmodeus, loyal Chunin of Konoha." His last words, "May that damned fox burn in hell." As I approached the grave, I felt a rumble in the ground. Then suddenly a large hand shot up from the ground. I jumped back. Suddenly around the arm exploded, and in its place was a large zombie with muscle and flesh tearing of it, and some sort of puss came out from its head. Ding. The sounded skill general observation active target zombie brute Gunnar Asmodeus. He truly hates every to do with the 9-tailed fox, the monster that attacked the village, and he smells that monster on you. HP 1000, EP 800, ST 70. This guy's up. No way he's in this low-level dungeon, I said with frustration and worry for my life. The monster roared and charged with clear anger and rage in every morsel of his being. I dodged his first punch. The cycle went on, but more and more. The beast became faster and faster every time I dodged, till eventually I was hit. I was hit so hard, in fact, that I flew all the way back to the barrier that separated this place from the wall, making a crater, which soon repaired itself as I sat there. The beast was walking toward me at a slow rate. All of that punching must have put a real damp on it. As I was thinking of a plan, I suddenly remembered the words that were told to me by the system. Protect what you love, no matter the cost. I thought of these words, my mind raced, and I thought, I refuse to die here. I still have Naruto and the young boy at the orphanage. I can't die here. I need to win. I need to grow stronger. As soon as these words popped into my mind, I heard a ding. My system promptly gave me news that would change many things. New skill acquired, instinct. allows the user to move at inhuman-seeming speed along with increasing blood lust on targets by 10%. Soon I got up and pulled out the sword that I gained from killing this ninja zombie. I recited the words, "Protect what you love, no matter the cost." As the brute, zombie became enraged once again, and it ran toward me. I activated my skills. This includes running, novice taijutsu, and the effects from my sword. Increasing its damage and strength were activated. The zombie rushed at me and threw another right hook instead of dodging. I slashed at it with my sword, cutting the hand and stopping the proportion. It got enraged and decided to throw its flurry of punches again, and I parried and blocked each and every one of them, slicing at its torso. Whenever I got the chance, it decided to try and kick at me to surprise me. But as it kicked, I weaved around and sliced its leg to me. It was almost as if I was in a trance. I could see what it was going to do in a way. Its major twitches allowed me to see where it was going to hit. Kick or do next. He pulled up a chunk of earth and just chucked it at me. Instead of slicing through it, I went underneath it, and as the zombie rushed me again, I kept running, and in the middle of my run, my skill, running, upgraded into sprinting, and I gained a speed boost just enough to win right past him for a few seconds. We both stood still until suddenly its torture was less than half, and its health reached 0, and it dissipated. I sat there dazed, confused, and utterly tired as I was catching my breath. I saw a light from the zombie's corpse that was slowly disappearing. The color of the light was a dark blue as I went to see what the reward would be. I put my hand to it, and I was surprised at what the system was telling me. Reward for defeating the brood zombie. 2 chakra. Enhancing pills descriptions. These pills enhance the user's chakra capacity. Second reward, brood zombie bones. These bones can be used in many things. They are durable enough to tank most physical hits. Third reward. Now the third reward was the one I was looking forward to most. Third reward, skill, rampant berserk. Rank unique description allows the user to become wizard and increases all stats by 20% at the cost of user's mental stability for a short amount of time, along with 60 EP per second. I didn't have much time to celebrate my victory as the dungeon soon kicked me out because it was complete. Though I was tired, I couldn't stay in the graveyard. It would look far too suspicious. So I walked home and for the first time in a while decided not to do any late night exercises and went straight to bed. But before that, I thought on the day and how exciting it was and how I learned something new and how I would live by it till the day I died. Protect what you love, no matter the cost. I soon drifted off into the most peaceful slumber I had ever had in either of my lifetimes. I woke up from my peaceful slumber and almost immediately went out still in my clothes from last night and bought a clock with the money I've saved up and with a triumphant look on my face. I went back to my apartment to set down my new clock on my stand. It was only Sunday, so I had this day to myself as well. I soon remembered yesterday and how I won against my opponent by the skin of my teeth. If it wasn't for my luck, I would have been dead and gone with nothing to show for it. This is unacceptable. I can't stay weak. I pulled out my new sword and decided I should train my kijutsu, but wait, I don't have anyone to train me, and plus I'm more important skill to learn would be chakra of manipulation. But how would I achieve this? I thought to myself contemplatingly. I soon decided on the course of action was meditation while doing so I would try to feel for my chakra. As I got into the classical stance, I tried to feel for something, anything. My brain went to the fight. What if I'm not lucky next time? What if I wasted my EP on the zombies? What if these were all I could think of? I suddenly feel fire oozing from center. It burns, I thought, but continued to push until I heard a ding. New skill acquired. Chakra manipulation allows the user manipulate the inner energies to use and create many different techniques and abilities. Current level 1. Your chakra usage is good enough to pull off low-rank techniques without blowing yourself up. Any higher than E and D rank will end in failure. I felt proud pouring through, put my body, and I yelled, yeah, I finally did it. I can't be blamed for my enthusiasm. After all, it should be every man's dream to have cool abilities. Next, I went to the library. There I found a book titled Ninja Hand Signs. These are mediums that allow ninja to perform elemental and non-elemental techniques. I noted all the hand signs, and then I went to a training shrouded by trees with containingly falling dead leaves. There I started my training by attaching leaves to my forehead and attempting to have the leaves stick through my chakra. While doing this, I thought of different ways to use chakra, or even just how can this energy push and pull objects, make objects stick, or even cause magnetism. After all, chakra is responsible for all elemental techniques. And Kekkei Genkai, which are techniques that don't follow along the main elemental list of fire, water, wind, lightning, and earth. Just what are the laws of chakra? They seem very mysterious, and I wonder what I can do with it. I thought in deep contemplation. After a while, I heard a ding. Chakra manipulation level has increased to level 10. Can't perform E-C rank judas with minimum chakra. Afterwards, I stood up and pulled out my sword. I began to do basic slashes, hoping a skill would appear. I did vertical, horizontal slashes, and on one particularly heavy strike, the blade slipped from my hands and fell behind me. Frankly, I was impressed by my ability to drop a sword. When I went to pick it up, I heard a swoosh, and suddenly behind me a man appeared. He asked me, "Why is it you're trying to learn the way of the sword when you obviously have no prior training or anyone to teach you the correct way?" I assumed this man was a ninja of my village, so I replied to him, "I'm trying to learn so I can become stronger to protect what I love at all cost," repeating the words that were shown to me by the system. Although I could not see the man, I could clearly hear his smart, strangely enough. Then he said, "If you're that determined, then I might as well show you how to properly use the weapon you're holding." Soon turned around to see one of Konoha's best Kijutsu master in the village. Hey, Geto, I was in the here stood before me, a master of the art. I was just trying to learn horribly and offering to teach me now. I'm starting to think whoever sent me here really favor me. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So of course I said, yes, I'd be honored to learn under someone. They're so skilled in the, but before I could finish, he coughed violent. So let's begin immediately. So after that, for the rest of the day, we went over basic techniques such as how to sheath the katana, how to do basic attacks with the katana, such as vertical and horizontal slashes, coming out from the sheath, and last but not least, how to block and parry properly with the katana. After about 5 or 6 hours that took up most of my day, he said, "That is enough for today. Why don't you cough? Meet me here tomorrow. Cough at the same time." I replied to him saying yes, senseis, as he left. I looked down at my notification bar, and I saw a notification saying that I had a new skill called Beginner Kage. Skill description: increases damage done when using skill by 20%, EP cost 35 per second. As I looked up at the dazzling sky, I thought to myself, today's been successful, well too, I won't stop here. I just got to keep improving so I can protect what I love no matter the cost. I made it to my apartment and decided to best and recuperate for my glow. Made it to my apartment and decided to rest and recuperate for tomorrow at the academy. Although I doubt I won't be sleeping in there too. As I laid in my bed, I looked over at my clock and smiled like the most generous smile I've had since coming to this world, and said, I can't wait. I'll become the strongest and protect what I love in this new world. Level 25 title, None, EP 1000 CH 3000 ST 40, crit 70. Life has been rather dull. It's been a couple of days in the week. I've been busy at the academy and training with hate senseis. That reminds me, I got my Kijutsu to novice level 20, increased damage done by 40% at the cost of 30 EP. But I can't say the same for night. I've been making my own jutsu. Flashback. I was in an empty clearing. I was breathing in and out slowly for about 5 minutes. I theorized that if I flowed my chakra the right way, used the right hand signs and the right amount of chakra, I could use my own personal jutsu. Suddenly, I pulled out my chakra and performed the hand signs: tiger, horse, boar, ram, and dog. And then 10 small fireballs making 2 circles around me. Ding. The sound I heard from the system was like music to my ears at this point. New skill acquired, personally jutsu no name has been chosen, creates fireball around the user, damage 15 burn damage, EP cost 20 per second. The amount and size is based on the amount of chakra used. As I excitedly jumped around, the fireballs dissipated and I thought I should think of a name for my new jutsu. As I thought on the name, it came to me, Art of the Fire Wheels. As I said the name out loud, ding, skill Art of the Fire Wheels has been named. Back to the present. I was trying to make another jutsu, but it's no as easy as is on paper, to say that the least. It was slow. If I did something even out a little off, I would explode. The explosions usually took half my health, so I waited for my health to go up. but on the upside I gained explosion resistance. After many failures, I got up to try again. I preferred the tiger, snake, bird, rat, and dragon hand signs, and then fire shot up from the ground surrounding me. Then the fire gathered at my fingertips and I shot it out as one giant fireball. Ding. The sound was relying at this point new personal jutsu, unnamed, create a fire shield around the user and concentrates that energy to the user's fingertips. Then shoot out the fire as a giant blast of fire. Damage 98 fire damage, EP consumption 58 per second. I tiredly said, Art of the Inferno. New skill, named Art of the Inferno, my system articulated. I dropped to the ground in exhaustion. As I huffed and puffed on the ground, I continued with my next nightly activity. This was a less activity. I was making my puppets. I was making 2 puppets. The first one was less complicated but smaller, and many more of these were based on the Aburan clan. They were small bug-like mechanical-looking puppets. They varied in size based on the type of insect. The smallest was THR size of a gnat's, and the larger being the dragonflies. I was currently making a hornet to injected poison in the system of a victim. So far I made a variation of my padded ninja bugs. The small gnats, so many that I could not control many of them reliably. So I came up with a method to control them. Through my sword I use it as a conduit to attach chakra strings. From the sword to the gnat puppets, and moving my sword caused the mass of almost invisible insects to move. Along with that I can send elemental chakra through the string. One example is causing the bugs to explode of create a grid of chakra string connecting through the bugs. To make traps the gnats and other smaller puppets in the scabbard that way. When I drew my sword, I could my bugs unnoticed. I was also working on a bigger puppet resembling a small dog like a chihuahua. This was only a prototype for larger creations. I'm finally done, can rest for a minute. I said relved and plopped on my back, and as I was looking up at the dazzling night sky, I could only smile at my achievements. I've still got things to make do, and things to protect. I'll keep going, I thought with wonder in my eyes. The next day at the academy, I was laid out on my desk dead asleep. Next to me, Naruto was attempting to wake me up. Hey Takahashi, why are you sleeping? What you've been doing, Tom, make you so tired, he said in his normal Buster's tone, with a little worry seeping in his voice. As I groggily spoke, I've been training later than usual, so I'm a bit tired. Naruto nodded with an understanding look on his face. I wonder where Sasuke is. I haven't seen him in a while, he said while looking at the Uchiha seat. I glossaed over unnoticed by my blonde friend. I wondered if I should find Sasuke. It's been a few days since the massacre of his entire clan, and the school year is almost over. As the day was over and me and Naruto went our separate ways, I was heading to MT normal training ground. When suddenly I stopped outside the ground, I heard a quiet sound like something flying through the air, and how Uchiha Raven's a bird owned by the Uchiha clan. I moved to the left as I saw a kuni move towards my face. It kicked the side of my face. I quickly jumped back and pulled out 2 kuni and got into a fighting stance. I saw a branch move Su active my sprint skill and jumped from one tongue to another to get higher, and then I jumped on the branch I saw and caught a glimpse of a person. I ran after them. Soon I caught up and got on top of the person and grabbed him and slammed him to the ground. While being on the ground, he tried to stab me, so I jumped off. They turned to me. There I saw Sasuke. Surprised, I began to speak, but before I could, he cut me of, "You fight me, I need to be stronger, I won't lose again," he said with clear frustration in his voice that I saw. For a minute, I was tempted to say no and walk up, but instead I said, "No, we'll win, and I'll tell you when I win." He rushed at me reminiscent of our first fight, but more violent. He threw punch after punch. I dodged. So I countered and attacked, but he dodged and countered. This rhythm continued, then he jumped back and preformed. Horse, tiger, monkey, ram, boar, horse, tiger hand signs in rapid succession. And preformed the fireball jutsu. In turn, I preformed my art of the fire wheels jutsu. The reason was that through carefully experimentation, I found that the jutsu can absorb other fire jutsu on the same level. So instead of dodging, I went towards Sasuke and threw the kuni through the fire as Sasuke. I did a flying kick through the flames as he tried to get up. I yelled, "Enough!" He looked up at me with fury in his eyes. I told you that I'd win you no way, cause for God to protect what I care for, not vengeance or hate. Got that L? He started shaking. What do you know? My brother killed everything I loved, and I'll kill him for it. I won't be denied vengeance. Giving him no more room to speak. I kicked him in the stomach. You haven't been listening to W's, you haven't been listening to a word I've said if you really want to get strong. You have to find something to protect, just getting vengeance, or leave you with a hole. That hole has to be filled by something. Why don't you find that get stronger with someone, and then get your vengeance? I said with determination. He began to speak. But my brother, again, before he could finish, I said, that doesn't matter, whatever you told you to get you. So mad at him, doesn't matter. You can't hold on to anger forever. I want to know your anger revenge. Feel free to find him and kill him whenever you want. But as you are now, you won't be able to not. Because you don't have enough hate, but because you don't have enough love. My beat friend is the strongest because he doesn't hold himself down. Now get up, let's go another round. Looking back on it now, the way he looked at me when I said those words made me feel like a real hero at that moment. He got up and we fought for so long, I can't even remember how it was now. But by the end of it, we were flat out on the ground. We were quiet when Sasuke said, I'll get stronger, just wait and see. I looked at him and said, then let's do it together. Then I put out my fist and then we fist bumped. I was in a forest, but like none in the village. I was walking while wolves were all around. I was walking randomly, and yet I could feel myself getting closer to something. When I suddenly jumped up, eyes wide open, I was in unknown room. Ding. Secret daily quest finished. Befriend Sasuke. Uchiha rewards. First, Dragon Gauntlet increases defense by 36 when equipped to SD. Boomerang Windmill Shuriken. A silver and gold windmill shuriken that comes back to the user 3 SD. Tidal Alpha Pack increases effectiveness of command given and access to more powerful chakra that increases elemental jutsu in all categories and non-elemental techniques. I accepted all rewards. I would go over them in more detail later. For now, I was more worried about where I was. From looking around, there was a window looking through that I saw. I was on the second floor of a house, and the streets were empty. The room was pretty barren, but the most surprising thing was that over the top of the door leading out was the Uchiha symbol. Before I could think, the door opened, revealing Sasuke. You're up, you haven't been out for long, so don't worry, he said emotionlessly. In surprise, all I could do was look at him. You thanks, but can I ask why I here? I asked, still and shook. Well, I didn't know where you like, so I bought here, he said. I may be groggy, but I thought I saw him blushing and looking down away. You should be. All right, your clothes are right beside you, Sasuke said. As I looked around, I found the clothes. As I began to put them on, Sasuke went downstairs. When I finished, I went after Sasuke. He was sitting down at the dining room table looking, the best way I can put it was cold and sad. I decided to cheer him up. Hey Sasuke, let's get some ramen. You need food with lots of calories and rest again, get stronger. I said, totally serious. He looked at me. I have food here, he said in a deadpan. You need calories, so come on. I said, dragging him by the arm. Soon we arrived. I said hi to the old man working at the stand. Hey Takahashi, I thought you went home. I heard a loud and familiar voice. Hey Naruto, I was hungry. This is the best place I know. I smiled and said, soon Naruto's eyes drifted to the Uchiha. I was dragging on the ground. The two stared at one another. Sasuke stood up and Naruto screamed. Oh, what are you doing here, Tima? Bastard in Japanese. The Uchiha just sneered and said, not like an idiot like you would understand. I promptly slapped the two. Now, no arguing here, let's order. I said. I sat between the two while the two were glaring at each other. I ordered chicken katsu ramen. Naruto ordered pork ramen. And Sasuke went over the menu for a while, so Naruto got impatient. Hey, Tima, order already. I cut him with a karate slap. Soon Sasuke ordered the tomato veggie ramen. As we ate, surprisingly, I was the only one talking. So guys, I got an idea. Since we all want to get strong, let's do it together by setting up a study group. We'll meet tomorrow after school here and train together. They both look at me. Then Naruto stood up and said, train with him? No way, Naruto said, and Sasuke just looked away. I looked away and sighed and said plainly, if you guys want to be strong, you can't just do it alone. I mean, that's even what the spars are for. And Naruto, if you want to be the Kage, you'll have to work with people. You don't like the Okia here, and Sasuke. If you want to get stronger, you can't just rely on your shelf after all. Naruto has skills that he's better at than you, like stealth and trap making. And you remember what I said? At that, the Uchiha looked and said okay. As for Naruto, he was still on the Hokage comment and said okay as well. Afterwards, Naruto went his separate way. Me and Sasuke were standing. I spoke. You may still be wondering what I mean, but if you want more answers, just what for tomorrow. I soon walked of. I made my way home. I won't bother you with the details of how I went to bed, but I was to exit it for tomorrow. I awoke and put my clothes. I looked out the window and saw how it was still early, so I got out my notebook from my small drawer. I began to do one-handed push-ups with the book on the ground while my other hand was writing with my other hand. In the notebook, Chakra Armor, I've come up with the particulars of the armor. The base of the armor would be chakra wires surrounding an exoskeleton, making a suit, resembling a tight spandex bodysuit with a metal spine. Over the body would be the aesthetic of the armor. The strings would work as strings that I could use with my chakra. Out of the notebook, I soon got up and put on my clothes. I went to the academy. The day went as normal with the exception of Sasuke coming to class. After the academy, I grabbed Naruto and Sasuke against there we soon arrived. All right, let's start with chakra and sparring. Naruto looked confused, so before he could say anything, I looked at him and said, "What I mean is I'll help you unlock your chakra, then we'll spar." He squinted his eyes and nodded in understanding. While Sasuke was leaning on a tree, I began to help Naruto with his chakra. My instruction were to feel around and tell me when he found it. When he did, my next instruction were to pull it out slowly so his chakra bust out. When he looked up, I said, "Good job, Naruto. Next, let's spar. You and Sasuke will go first." Sasuke got up from his position on the tree. Then the two stood and began. Naruto ran in headstrong while Sasuke just counted his punch and hit him in the jaw. This cycle continued for an hour. Sasuke was dead tired, but Naruto just stood up again and again until they both collapsed unconscious. I sat them up. Sasuke was the first one to wake up. "What happened?" he asked groggily. "What happened is that you and Naruto tied." He looked shocked, but before he could speak, I said, "You look shocked. That's what I'm talking about. He's stronger. Because he's got people to help him on the way to his goals. You can't do it alone." Just from looking at his face, I could see my words had an impact. I heard growing and saw the blonde waking up. "Did I win?" the blonde boy said, and before I could say anything, Sasuke beat me to the punch. "Of course not, I won," he said while pointing at himself. I smiled, and before our argument could start, I said, "Let's go get some ramen." Naruto got up like nothing happened and ran toward the ramen stand. Me and Sasuke followed behind. 5 days later, "Fireball Jutsu," Sasuke shouted as a fireball came toward me. I was trying to get a defensive one, so I covered my sword in chakra. This was my 30th try, then ding. New skill unlocked, full counter rank rare. This ability allows the user to reflect chakra attacks aimed at him back at the enemy, but with much greater power. Therefore, the stronger the opponent's powers are, the rebound becomes. A prime drawback is that the user cannot initiate attacks himself. He is also incapable of reflecting attacks if the opponent does not allow him to read the timing/nature of their attacks. Physical, indirect, and continuous attacks can also not be reflected. 20 EP for each use. As I used the skill, the fireball was reflected and Sasuke dogged to the left. I fell back on my butt and huffed for air. I said, "I need a break." "Naruto, how's the training going?" I had helped Naruto with chakra control. Specifically, I had him put leaves on him, and he had to keep them on him if he got the hang to on him. Then I put on another. "It was fine. Now teach me something else." As I got up, I thought on what I should teach him. When it came to me, I would teach him a wind technique. Because I couldn't do the technique, maybe Naruto could. "Alright, I'll teach you a jutsu. Follow my hands and pull at you chakra." As I felt Naruto large chakra pull, a breeze flew through the clearing. He followed my hand signs: snake, bird, monkey, and hare. As his chakra moved, wind blades formed around his arms. "Shot out your hands." He listened to my words, and wind blades shot toward me. In a panic, I was hit and sent flying, although it didn't do too much damage. Naruto was excitedly jumping around the place, even ignoring Sasuke's rude but harmless comment. I looked at him and felt happy. Sasuke came toward me and said, "So graduation's tomorrow, so do you think he's ready for tomorrow?" With any hesitation, I said, "Yes, there's no doubt in my mind, especially with all that he's learned. I couldn't wait for tomorrow." "Hey guys, let's stay over at Sasuke place," the overly loud blonde said with a bright smile on his face. I looked back to him and didn't give Sasuke a chance to disagree. "Hey, let's get going." I put my arms around the two, and we headed towards Sasuke place, and a smile on each one of our faces. Although at this point I had no idea we were being watched by a figure with a blank mask. I awoke in Sasuke's house. Naruto's foot was on my face, and Sasuke's arm was strung across my torso. Both still asleep, snoring. I got up, not gently, but the two were still sleeping. I put on the clothes from yesterday and made something for us to eat. Ding, cooking skill leveled up to 29. The taste and overall health benefits increased by 50%. This was a skill I've cultivated my free time for a while. Cooking for myself and others has become a hobby of mine. I was cooking 3 servings of sausage, egg, and cheese onigiri recipes. 3/4 cup fully cooked Jimmy Dean sausage pork crumbles, 1 cup Borden shredded mozzarella cheese divided, 2.5 cups short grain rice cooked, 2 large eggs, 1 tablespoon. Heavy cream can substitute with milk or water. 2 green onions chopped, 1,5 tablespoon. Soy sauce, 2 tablespoons. Everything bagel seasoning. Handful roasted seaweed strips, optional. Chili oil ketchup, 4 tablespoons. Ketchup, 1 tablespoon. Chili oil, or substitute with hot sauce of your choice. Recipe directions. A wash and cook short grain rice. Once cooked, transfer to a heat-proof bowl to cool down. In a pan, heat tablespoon of vegetable oil over medium heat. Toss in the fully cooked Jimmy Dean sausage pork crumbles and cook for 4 to 5 minutes, or until browned and slightly crispy. Remove from the pan and set aside. Whisk together eggs and heavy cream until thoroughly combined. In the same pan used to reheat the sausage, pour in the eggs and scramble until fully cooked. Remove from the pan and set aside. In the bowl with the rice, add sausage, egg, scallions, and cup Borden shredded cheese. Mix until well combined. To assemble, start by preparing a bowl of cold water. Wet both hands and grab cup of the rice mixture. Compress then flatten it out on one hand. Place 1 tablespoon of cheese in the center, then cover with another cup of the rice mixture. Press the onigiri firmly so they stay intact, then shape them into a triangle. If using a mold to shape the onigiri, skip this step. Once all onigiri have been formed, carefully roll the edges in everything bagel seasoning. In a pan, heat the remaining tablespoon of vegetable oil over medium heat. Gently transfer the onigiri face down. Cook for 1 minute on each side. Reduce the heat to low. Brush soy sauce on each side, making sure to flip after each brush. This will crisp up and caramelize the onigiri. For the chili oil ketchup, simply combine 4 parts ketchup with 1 part chili oil, then mix. Serve onigiri with roasted seaweed and enjoy with chili oil ketchup. I placed 3 on 3 plates and woke up the 2 pigs sleeping, as I thought at one glance you would think they couldn't be more different. But the truth is that the 2 couldn't be more similar. It's just that Sasuke was forced him to act like the rest. Breakfast time, I yelled to get the 2 moving. They got startled and they woke up. Breakfast is ready, come get some. I put the plates on the floor table, or a coffee table in America. I sat across from the 2 we ate in a comfortable silence. Mostly because Naruto and Sasuke were tired. As we finished, Sasuke looked at the clock and said, "We should head to the academy." Naruto jumped up and yelled, "Yeah, let's go." We soon left. As we made our way to the academy, we got strange looks from the adult. I sneered and kept walking. When we made it to we went to our class, with only few interpretation by fangirls, completely ignoring me and Naruto. We sat in our sets and waited for Irika senseis to come in. Surprisingly, the fangirls were the only one making a fuss. I could understand it was first year final testing. Even Naruto was quiet. Irika came on more serious than ever. He passed out a test. After he was done, he went to the front and said, "When the test begins, there will be no cheating. If caught, you will be immediately failed. No, begin." As I looked down at my paper, I found the questions were mostly history related, which was understandable since for the whole year Irika only talked about history. As I looked at my questions, it came to me that it's been a whole year since I came here. I just smirked and filled out the right answers. After all, even if I didn't listen to Irika sensei's lectures, I often read books including history. After the test was over, we made our way outside. As we were walking, I saw the panic-eyed Naruto and his movements, and surprisingly Sasuke's as well. The fights were divided randomly like in our spars. Alright, first up is Kiba Inuzuka versus Takahashi. I went to the ring. Kiba said something that annoyed me to no end. "Haha, this will no problem if you friends with that idiot." The words were nothing new, but the malice in his voice pissed me off, so now the situation changed. I'll have to teach them a lesson, I thought, with even more malice in my thoughts. "Are you ready?" Irika sensei said. I nodded curtly, and Kiba boasted needlessly. Irika sensei said, "Begin." Kiba ran towards me. As he got close, I kicked up at his chin. He was falling back, but he stood back up before he could do anything. I punched him. He tried jumping back, but I didn't let him. I kicked at his legs, making him crouch. I kicked his face again. He ended up on the ground on his back with a bloody face. Irika sensei said, "Stop, Takahashi wins." There was cheering, but I towards Sasuke and Naruto. "Good job, Takahashi, way to show him," the blonde said, and Sasuke just nodded in congrats. But I like to think he was celebrating like Naruto. The other fights were uninteresting. They were one-sided, like Sasuke versus some random civilian kid or Naruto versus another civilian kid. Naruto just overwhelmed him. But the fight that got my attention was surprisingly Hinata versus Ino. Ino's pre-forms was lackluster, but Hinata was amazing even if she dragged on the fight. The way she fought was truly amazing, but after that this part of THR test was over, and we went inside where Irika Sensei's announced all passing students. Needless to say, Naruto and Sasuke passed, and the main cast along with a few civilian kids. After the day was over, Irika Sensei's gave out electives for next year. As we left the academy early, I was waiting for Sasuke and Naruto. I saw Hinata sitting alone. I went to her and said, "Hey Hinata." She jumped and said, "Atiti Takahashi, you need something?" I smiled and said, "I just wanted to say you did great. You want to come with me?" Sasuke and Naruto, with great effaced on Naruto. She blushed and said, "I don't want to be a burden," and I cut her off and said, "Don't say that, we'd love to have you with us. Now let's celebrate." I took her to my two friends. Surprisingly, Sasuke was the one to comment, "How this?" he said with the Uchiha glare. I smiled and said, now don't get jealous, she's going to celebrate with us." At the news, Sasuke's face didn't move an inch, and Naruto existentially cheered and jumped up and down. We made our way to our favorite place. They were ordered our usual, and Hinata ordered kare ramen. Kare ramen consists of thick and curly noodles served in a curry-flavored broth. Japanese curry is usually rich, creamy, dark brown in color, and not overly spicy in taste, making this a perfect comfort meal. We had surprisingly good conversations that, probably because of her infatuation with Naruto, I know that's something Sasuke is especially grateful for. After eating, I said, "Hinata, come with us to Sasuke's house." Before either could interject, I put my arms around the two, and we were off towards Sasuke's house. When we got there, the twitching Hinata and stoic Sasuke sat down while Naruto went to get onto the board games we stored here. All while I was cooking some carriage or Japanese fried chicken. The ingredients are 300g boneless skin-on chicken thighs marinade, 3 tablespoons soy sauce, 1 tablespoon cooking sake, 5g fresh ginger, grated 2 cloves garlic, crushed to fry, a 1/4 cup katakuriko potato starch, to coat cooking oil for frying toast serve. Japanese mayonnaise lemon wedges, leave a little skin/fat on for extra crispiness, and allow to marinate for 30 minutes. Drain any excess liquid from the chicken and add a 1/4 cup katakuriko potato starch. Mix until the pieces are fully coated. Heat some cooking oil in a pan to around 180 C and test the temperature by dropping in some flour. If it sizzles on impact, the oil is hot enough. Fry 3 to 4 pieces at a time for 3 to 4 minutes until they are deep golden brown color. Then remove and allow to drain on a wire rack or kitchen roll. Serve hot or cold with some lemon wedges and a squeeze of Japanese mayonnaise. And that's how you make carriage. As I served the food on the floor table, Naruto came back with a game similar to Monopoly called Dokusen. We played all night, then it became nighttime. "I have to go home," Hinata said while touching the tips of her fingers. "Well, let's go with you," the blonde said while jumping up, knocking the board game over as Sasuke was going to take Naruto's business. Sasuke came up behind the blonde and put him in a headlock and gave him a nuggy eye. "Me and Naruto will come, no protest," I said with nonchalantness oozing from my voice. Sasuke looked at me and said, "You too?" I looked at him and said, "Someone has to clean this up," I said to him with a straight face as Naruto and Hinata left. Sasuke was yelling at me. The distance between the Uchiha and Hyuga clan was it took 40 minutes to get to our destination. We stopped at the gates. "See you another time, Hinata," Naruto said loud enough to wake up the whole village. On my part one, just wave. From there, we went to Sasuke's house. As we walked again, I found myself looking at the stars. But my mind was on what tomorrow would bring, but along with it, I thought on what I have today. It was the first day of the summer, and I was staring intensely at my elective paper. My choices were ninjutsu, kijutsu, taijutsu, fujitsu, jinjutsu, and medical. I was thinking intensely after all these would be my foundation to grow. And plush, I could only choose 3. I would for sure choose Jinjutsu, so I could use the bloodline limit. Next, I thought on choosing Kijutsu, but I already had a teacher for that. And I make my own ninjutsu. Along with it, I'm not interested in Fujitsu, so that left medical and Taijutsu. Alright, I got my electives. I thought and marked my electives on the paper: Jinjutsu, Taijutsu, and medical. I soon looked out the window. Then I went to go get Hinata. I wanted to see her Taijutsu. After I left my apartment, it was about 30 minutes, and me, Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke were chilling in Sasuke's eating some chips and queso. When I asked, "What electives are you guys choosing?" Naruto and Sasuke looked up from stuffing their faces along with Hinata wiping the chip crumbs of her face. Sasuke spoke first. "I choose ninjutsu, kijutsu, specifically Tanto arts, and Taijutsu." And then he picked up a chip, dipped it, and stuffed his face. Hinata stuttered and then said, "I wanted to do medical." I looked at her shy expression and said, "Good idea. And maybe you should do ninjutsu. After all, it's the Hyuga's main weakness." Naruto looked up and said, "Yeah, you're do great." With a thumbs up, she blushed and said thank you in a silent voice. Then I looked at Naruto, and as I want to ask, he cut me off and said, "I was going to do ninjutsu and Taijutsu." I smiled and said, "Maybe you should also try Fujitsu." He looked contemplative and nodded in the affirmative. I looked at the time and noticed that it was time for my training with Hate Senseis. I got up and said while waving, "All right, I'll see you later." They waved me off. About 20 minutes later, I was at the training grounds, and so was Hate Senseis. He said without coughing, "Takahashi, today we will be fighting no holds bars. This means you can use whatever you have to win." I got into a sword stance with the Ryo Hikaru katana out of my scabbard, said, "All right, let's go," with a serious look on my face. Hate came at me and slashed down. I parried to the side, then attempted to counterattack, but he twisted around and clashed against my sword. I went back and I preformed my art of the Inferno, shoot the fireball at Hate Senseis. But he jumped over the fireball. I smirked and thought as I expected, and I slashed my sword while Hate was still far away, and all of a sudden the air in front of Hate was set ablaze in the shape of the downward slash. Hate was suddenly switched out with a log. I activated my sprint skill and instinct skills and rolled forward, dogging Hate Sensei's strike. I activated my art of the Fire Wheels Jutsu, and then I proceeded to engage in sword bout with Hate Senseis. His technique far outclassed me, but with my instinct and sprint skill I could keep up. Then Hate jumped back, and I hissed angrily. Hate was a small hornet that had a special poison I made in the forest. Hate soon preformed the Shadow Clones, Jutsu, and 3 copies of Hate came into existence. They rushed around me, and they soon blurred around me, then suddenly struck. I tried to block, and I saw the slight movement of 2 of the clones and blocked 1 strike and dogged 1 strike, but the last hit my left side. The clones suddenly puffed into smoke, and then Hate Sensei said, "Enough. You did G-Cough good. I didn't expect you to avoid 2 of my strikes." I plopped down onto H ground, and then Hate Sensei said, "So what was that technique when you made a fire slash?" I felt that one. As I looked at Hate Sensei's and explained, "I put tiny bug puppets in my scabbard. When I took out my sword, the puppets came out too. I pulsed fire chakra through the strings to create the fire slash." Hate Sensei's looked at me with respect and said, "You are ingenious, cough cough, so I'll give you a reward, whatever I can reasonably give you." I thought on what I could gain. Most of the jutsu or information in need can be found in books. Expect for. I smirked and said, "Space-time ninjutsu." Hate looked suspicious and said, "You got high expectations. But since you did so well, I'll see what I can do." The next day, Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata were training by sparring, while I was working on the first of my bigger puppets. The previous day, I had gone to the civilian blacksmith. I got metal scrap, and then I picked up spar, or forgotten kuni, and shuriken. I had put fire on my sword to cut the metal into what I needed. It had been an hour since the trio began sparring. I had built the body and the places where the shuriken and kuni launcher. But the main part would be the chakra network. It was a section of the puppet that had groving that resembles a chakra network. This was I could use jutsu with the puppet even from far away. The puppet had a resemblances to an extra large dog the size of a large horse. It could hold 2 normal-sized adults. I was in my own world. As I finished the puppet, I saw Sasuke, Naruto, and Hinata looking at me. So I said, "You want to help me test out my new puppet?" Naruto, excited, yelled, "Hell yes." Sasuke had the same determination in his eyes, and while I could see that Hinata was nervous, she too wanted to go along with Naruto and Sasuke, if only not to be left out. I activated my chakra strings and connected to the dog puppet. Naruto was the fist to rush at the puppet. He threw a kick at its face, but it had no effect, and I made the puppet push him off. Next, Sasuke came in with a fireball jutsu, and while the huge fireball blocked their vision, I had the puppet use one of the gadgets I came up with, being a shuriken launcher, attached to the thigh of the puppet. The projectiles came out unexpectedly at the trio. Sasuke and Naruto, along with Hinata, all dodged the projectiles. Then Hinata came in with her Taijutsu and attempted to shut my puppet down by hitting its joints. But I had thought of this conundrum. The joints of the puppet were reinforced with some aluminum-infused steel. This material in particular was common amongst civilians. I had my puppet move back out of her range and fire. Another barrage of shuriken. She dodged them all perfectly. But in the middle of her dodging, another volley of shuriken. I had my puppet move closer and tackle her to the ground. "You're out," I called, not wanting to have to hurt her. Trying to hit it from above? Wow. Naruto was attempting to hit its stomach to incapacitate it when the two got close enough. I performed the hand signs for my art of the fire wheels, and instead of the fireballs forming around me, they formed around my puppet, and this countered Naruto's attack. Making him a step back, Sasuke was burned by one of the fireballs before he could jump back in time while he was incapacitated on the ground. I moved my puppet toward him, but Naruto intercepted and kicked my puppet, burning himself, but giving Sasuke enough time to recover and get up. I thought to myself, how should I finish this? Then a plan came to me as the two rushed in again. I performed the hand signs for my art of the Inferno, and a blast of fire came from the puppet's mouth, blasting Naruto away into the bushes. I made sure not to use enough chakra to hurt him, only push him back. Sasuke kept on coming forward, and as he kicked at the puppet's legs, putting it off balance, dislocated the puppet's dog-like face and had it bite Sasuke's leg as it was falling from there. It was a brawl between Sasuke and my puppet. Sasuke was punching the puppet to try to make it release its grip manually, but the puppet's grip was relentless soon. Sasuke was pinned to the ground, and I yelled out again, "You're out!" Naruto came back soon after and tried to overwhelm the puppet with his strength. I tricked Naruto into thinking that his method was working, and when he let his guard down, I made the puppet shoot out another volley of kunai at Naruto's legs. Naruto was able to move back in time, but his legs were still Naruto was able to move back in time, but his legs were still hit by two kunai on each leg. While he was distracted, I had the puppet pin him to the ground as well, and I called out for the last time, "You're out." I smiled and released my puppet of its strings. They were all beat, and Naruto's legs were injured. So I took the time to bandage his legs the best I could, and we had conversations about my puppet. One part of the conversation struck out to me. What are you going to name it?" Hinata said meekly. The other two others seemed to also be interested in this topic. I thought for a good long while the puppet. I made the puppet to seemingly to look like a husky from my old world, granted a much larger one, but a husky nonetheless, so I decided on the name Hisuki. It said the same as husky in English, just spelled different. Everyone was beat, so we returned to Sasuke's house. Everyone was beat. So we returned to Sasuke's house and enjoyed the rest of the day there. Then Hinata had to go back to her clan compound. This time Sasuke and Naruto all accompanied her. As we made our way to the gates, he'd not outlined. And the guards gave Sasuke mirth-filled glare. Sasuke only replied with the same, "Sumi." Naruto and Sasuke made our way back to Sasuke's house to enjoy the night. I could not help myself from looking up at the stars. I felt pride in my abilities. I had made a worthwhile puppet and managed to get praise from my sword instructor Hate Senseis. But as I looked up, I saw birds fleeing from the trees, and as I looked to the direction of the trees, I saw for a brief moment a figure clad in black robes rose and a white blank mask. After panicking silently for a while, I soon put that to the back of my mind to enjoy the night with my friends. Level 32 titles. Alpha Pack EP. 2067 CH. 9000 ST. 50 crit. 100. I woke up, and instead of doing my usual of going to Sasuke's house with Naruto, I decided to go and buy ninja equipment like explosive tags. As I got my wallet and noticed I was completely broke, I soon thought on ways I can make a large amount of money. Then I looked at my hidden blade and I thought if I sell my invention I could make money quick, but my idea could stolen. But if I could patent my idea, I could make more now and money over time, but I'm gonna have to improve my design. As I grabbed my hidden blade, I also got the leftover scrape from my puppets. I began to experiment the main part of the hidden blade and not the blade. It was the hidden part. When touching it needed to feel like it's just a part of your clothes. The options was also important to improve the situational options of the hidden blade. I made the blade interchangeable. I made a poison blade was a modification. It was a hollowed out blade and a hypodermic needle that automatically pushed poison into the victim. I had also made a poison dart launcher modification interchangeable with the blade, along with a hidden bolt launcher that works in the same way as the poison dart launcher. The beat part was that all parts except for the poison were made with scrap. As I was writing down my blueprints to have proof that I made this invention when I heard ding, title acquired mad inventory. I got up and grabbed my notebook and hidden blade and the mods and put it in a bag and left my apartment. I went to a blacksmith shop. This one in particular was the one Hate Sensei's brought me. The name of the shop was Higarashi's Blacksmithing. As I entered the shop, I went to the front. I saw a burly and grizzled old man. I went up to him and he asked me, "What do you want, Takahashi?" I looked at him seriously, so he would know I am not kidding. "I want to offer you a these," as I showed him my notebook and hidden blade. He looked at the notebook with the eyes of a veteran ninja. This was why I went to Higurashi, because he was a retired ninja, and no doubt he would understand the convince of this item. He looked down at me and said, "All right, what do you want for it?" I looked at him and said, "I want you to make a deal. I will make you these 30 a week with all the current options, and any new options I will sell for extra, discuss with you, of course. For 20% of profit made from my product, and credit to the name Neon no Adarashi Hatsumi." He looked at me and said, "You drive a hard bargain. While I'll admit that this is extremely useful for all ninjas, but unless you have a macating plan, I can only give you 15% until the news spreads." I could not argue with that, and I said, "Let's put it in paper." And luckily he had a contract form, and afterwards and said, "Thank you, Higurashi, sir. I'll have you 30 of my hidden blades and 30 on each of the options." He smiled, saying, "You're quite the entrepreneur. If being a ninja doesn't work out, I'll be happy to have you." I just smiled and said, "Well, that's nice, but I intend to be a ninja, but I wouldn't mind continuing our business relationship." He deeply laughed and said, "I hope you meet my daughter. You'd like each other." I laughed while scratching my head and said, "I'll see you soon." I then left the shop, and then I ran into Hate Sensei's outside the shop, and he said, Finally cough, found you, kid. I got that cough scroll, and I want to show you the shadow cough clone jutsu." I took the scroll, and then we went to a nearby training ground. "All right, copy my hand signs," Hate Sensei said, and I copied the hand signs. Tiger, serpent, tiger. And then I heard, ding, new skill acquired, shadow clones jutsu, consumes 2,250 per clone. No chakra is needed to keep the clones alive, have all abilities of the user. And memories of kept by clone are passed to the user. I looked at the notification as I was Hate Sensei's left while coughing. I couldn't be more thankful for this development. Now the manufacturing off the hidden blade and options will be far more efficient. But I still couldn't rest because my mind was still racing. I had far too many ideas, like a chakra yempi or a puppet that can turn into liquid like the T-1000. I soon got to my apartment and calmed down by indulging in my hobby. Cooking, specifically pork cutlet rice bowl. 2 center, cut boneless pork chops pounded down to a centimeter thick, salt, pepper. Flour for dusting. 1 egg, 1 cup panko oil for frying, kapishi stock or chicken stock, 2 teaspoons sugar, 1 tablespoon soy sauce, 2 teaspoons mirin, 2 eggs, large, 1 onion, medium. Thinly sliced, 2 servings steamed white rice, 1 scallion chopped. Season the pounded pork chops with salt and pepper and dust with a light, even coating of flour. In 1 shallow bowl, beat the egg. Put thep cointo, another shallow bowl. Add thin, even layer of oil to a cast iron pan or skillet over medium heat. The oil is ready when you throw a panko breadcrumb into the oil and it sizzles. Dip the pork into the egg to coat. Transfer the pork to the panko and press it evenly into the meat to get a good coating. Carefully lay the pork chops in the hot oil and cook for 5 to 6 minutes on one side until golden brown. Flip and cook the other side for another 5 to 6 minutes. Drain on a plate lined with a paper towel. While the pork is resting, add thadashi stock or chicken stock, sugar, soy sauce, amaretto, a small bowl. In another bowl, lightly beat 2 eggs. Add a tablespoon of oil to a pan over medium heat and add the sliced onion. Fry the onions until they're translucent and slightly caramelized. Drizzle the egg over everything. Cook over medium-low heat until the egg is just set. Serve over bowls of steamed rice and garnish with scallions. As I was about to dig in, but I heard a knocking on my door. I got up to open the door and found Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. "Sniff, sniff, something smells good," Naruto said while rubbing his stomach. I smiled and welcomed them in, and I had to make more. When I went back to the kitchen, I saw a scroll on the counter. When I opened it up, I saw the words "Water Stream, Rock Smashing Fist" along with drawings and descriptions. I quickly closed it and put the scroll and put it in my room. As I brought the food to my hungry friends, and I was acting normally. But every now and then I looked around in suspicion. Then I saw a black-clad figure running away. Level 32 titles. Alpha Pack title. Mad Inventor EP. 2067 Sage. 9000 ST. 50 crit 100. As I woke up, I began with my morning routine of writing in my journal while doing my workout. I was writing down my blueprints for a bird puppets. I would keep it simple. It would fly like a normal bird. So the weapons were smoke bomb launcher and normal bombs. All very light. The inside was like the dog Hasuki, speaking of which. I jumped up and put on my clothes and grabbed some gourmet dog treats I got from the store last night. I soon left my apartment, made my way through the village until I found a genin, walking the ninja dogs of the Inuzuka clan. I pulled up a mask and opened the bag of dog treats. The dogs sifted the air and they looked at me. I teased the dogs and beckoned them to come. The dogs soon ran at me. I activated my sprint skill and I ran. The dogs chased me through the village, and the genin tried as well, but I was too fast for the recent graduate. As I was finished observing the dogs moving in the different areas, I threw the treats and sprinted away. I went to a clearing surrounded by trees. I started to move Hasuki. It was reminiscent of the Nin dogs. I then moved Hasuki to the trees. I was impressed with my memorization of the way the dogs moved. I put the puppet in a large scroll, and then I went to Sasuke's house. I noticed Naruto and Hinata weren't there, but Sasuke was waiting at the entrance of his compound. He looked at me seriously and said, "I have something serious to tell you, and I need your advice." I looked at him with the same seriousness on my face and said, "I'll help with what I can. Let's go inside." We went inside and Sasuke told me some surprising news. "You what?" I said with clear surprise on my face. He had told me he chose to become the Uchiha proxy, basically just before the clan leader. He looked at me and said, "That's right. I decided to take on the position because I want to revive my clan. I still want revenge, but my family comes first." I noticed that phrasing. I couldn't help but smile. "All right, if that's the case, then I'll help you in any way possible, no matter you want it or not," I said with a wicked smile on my face. He had a nervous look and had a sweat drop on his face. After that, I began tutoring Sasuke on the political climate and how to raise his clan's funds. Soon it was Shigatsu, Japanese New Year's. Me, Sasuke, Naruto, and Hinata were celebrating with games and such, and I was cooking some ozuni, also known as ozoni or zoni. Ingredients: 3 cups dashi, 1/2 cup daikon radish thin and skinny slices, 1/2 cup karathan and skinny slices, 8 slices kamaboko, 1 soy sauce, 1 tablespoon sake, 1/4-1/2 salt, 8 mochi, 4 mitsuba coarsely chopped. Instructions: heat dashi in a pot at medium temperature and add daikon radish, carrot, and kamaboko, and cook until vegetables become tender. Meanwhile, bake mochi in a toaster oven about 5 minutes until the mochi has expanded and browned. Season soup with soy sauce, sake, and salt. In a soup bowl, place baked mochi and pour hot soup, then sprinkle with mitsuba. I placed 4 serving on the floor table. This was a happy day, and I can seriously say, I've enjoyed every second of coming here, especially with my new family. A week later, it was time to go back to the academy. I had got there early, so I went to the bathroom. There I saw Choji eating from a bag of chips. We started at each other for a time. You probably thought I would tell on him. Instead, I said, "Mind if I get some?" He awkward gave me a separate bag and I thanked him. We ate chips in the bathroom, awkwardly. But we still had rather nice conversations, like the times I asked about his favorite food and what he liked eating. Needless to say, we got along rather well. After a few of Blank's lectures, it was break for electives would be held after school. As we were eating, I saw Shikamaru playing on a shogi board alone, so I sat down next to him and said, "Mind if I join in?" He didn't seem to mind, or at least he didn't say anything. We played. I lost many times as soon lunch was over, and I offered him to play later at me and my friend's usual training ground. Him and Joji came over quite often after that, and we became friends. And Choji offered us to go to Shikamaru's house. And before Shikamaru could oppose, I said, "Sure thing." As we made our way to Shikamaru's house, we went in and Shikamaru's mom greeted us with, "Hello, Shikamaru, how are your friends?" "What a drag," the lazy boy said, and we soon all sat in the living room, where Naruto and Sasuke promptly pick up a comic book that was ironically similar to the One Piece manga. Chogi decided to eat some snacks prepared by Shikamaru's mom. Hinata was looking over me and Shikamaru. playing some more shogi. Soon Shikamaru's dad came in and sat at the floor table. Shikamaru's mom asked, "Are you okay, honey?" And he complained, saying, "The usual work problems. Just a bunch of complaining, such a drag." Surprisingly, Naruto piped up saying, "What, are people not happy or something?" And this invited me to indulge in the situation, saying no, because the village is putting too much emphasis on the shinobi matters and the civilians feel as if they have no say. From the corner of my eye, I could see Shikamaru's dad's eyebrow raise by an inch. He said, "Well, that sounds simple enough. But we can't just give the civilians everything they want, and if we did that, then this shinobi would complain drag." As he finished, I had lost my game with Shikamaru and we started again. I replied, "Well, there's no leaving things as they are now. The animosity sleep between shinobi and civilian will just grow deeper and deeper." Shikamaru's dad looked at me again and said, "Do you have any suggestions on how to fix this matter?" I again replied while playing against Shikamaru, "Yes, we need to get to the deeper root of the problem. Why are the civilians upset in the first place? Civilians are upset because of quality of life. Sure, maybe they don't have to go out and fight, but so much resources have been put into ninja-related projects that projects concern and civilian matters have been put to the back burner. We have far too many ninja primed to the back burner. A few suggestions would be trying to improve this quality of life, such as making tasks easier to function, such as tilling fields or transport of goods." As I finished saying my piece, I again lost the shogi game match with Shikamaru. As I was wearing up to do another match, Shikamaru, I looked at the time and realized that we had to go. I said thank you for the snacks and your hospitality to Shikamaru's mom, and we promptly laughed. I also noticed Shikamaru's dad looked at me, contemplating. Before we left, I heard him say, "Come back again, kid." We then left, and again, I looked up at the stars, thought of tomorrow, and I wondered how everything would go from now on. Level 32 titles. Alpha Pack title, Mad Inventor EP. 2067 Sage. 9,000 ST, 50 crit, 100. It had been a week, and I was currently in Shikamaru house touring Sasuke, while Shikamaru and Hinata were playing Shoga, and Naruto and Choji were eating the never-ending snacks Shikamaru's mom put out. When I suddenly remembered the day I was trying out my Jinjutsu abilities. I was looking at a decent-sized squirrel and I cast a Jinjutsu that should show me stating it, and I saw as the stomach gained a slice. And I roared and said, yeah, I did it. I can finally get even stronger. I remember that moment fondly. I cheered as if I achieved all of life's secrets. Back to the present, I asked Sasuke, did you take stock of the Uchiha clan resources? He answered with, yes, we have important resources. For example, the horses. The Uchiha clan were avid collectors like the Iron Village chakra metal. I nodded and replied, that's good. Well, loan out the horses for a price. We should hold off on selling or using the metal. You said the Uchiha were avid collectors. Do they have an excess of scrolls or weapons? Nothing of cultural importance, or whether you don't want to sell. Sasuke had a contemporary look on his face. When Shikamaru dad Shiko, just what are you troublesome kids doing, he said. I looked at him with a sparkling light in my eyes, and Sasuke had a dead look in his eyes. We're gonna fill the Uchiha's coffers tenfold, I said existentially. He had a questioning look, and I explained by showing him my notebook with a drawing of a medieval plow. I said this, if you remember our conversation, this is a solution. We'll sell this to help easier plow fields. For extra, we'll loan horses to pull them and an automatic seed spreader. That brings me to this question. Would you be willing to help keep track of the loaned horses and make sure they get returned on time? He heard me out, and next he asked, what's in it for me? If I do accept, and why would you extend this offer to my clan? After clan aren't exactly known for our enthusiasm. In return, I told him, true. Your clan might not be known for it. Your enthusiasm for most things, not including animals. Those being horses, deer, and more. Plus, we'd be willing to offer you 15% of the income from the horses loaned and received back. He cracked a small smile and said, I'd be willing to partner with the Uchiha clan, but we'd have to get this done in formal writing. And how exactly will you be selling the plows? I replied with no hesitation, saying, the selling of the plows will be done through a relatively reputable company called Neon no Adarashi Hatsumi. He said, I see, I've heard of that company. It's true. They are relatively reputable. After all, Higarashi's shop is not just popular with shinobi, but also civilians. I smiled. when Sasuke asked a question. "Why is my clan not well liked by the shinobi?" Shikaka said. "Because you claim's eyes have the ability to copy jutsu." This was a real problem, especially with non-clan shinobi. Sasuke nodded and said, "I understand. I will sell the earth, water, air, and lightning scrolls that are not of cultural importance to my clan, and for a decent price. This should alleviate some of the dislike non-clantional behave toward my clan. Although I can't think of much to do to appease the clans other than bowing down, which I refuse to do." I could hear the conviction in his voice, and I only nodded, agreeing with his decision. "That's enough of the business talk now. Come and eat, everyone," said Shikamaru's mom, Yoshino Nara. Hinata suddenly offered some advice. "I think you're already appeasing some of the clans, especially with befriending some of their children, such as the Akamisai and Nara along slightly my father," Hinata said, sounding like a true, politically embroiled child. About 2 days later, me and Sasuke were getting the ball rolling on the project to fill up the Uchiha clan coffers. I myself was taking a break in a training ground, fixing up some new puppets. The puppets, in particular, that I was cooking up was a bird puppet that could fly and was extremely light, but could still generate lightning through the wings and shoot it at an opponent on contact. Along with the elephant puppet that was far heavier and could be used as a hammer and could hold water inside the trunk too. Splash around to give me cover or to pressurize and shoot out at an opponent like a bullet. I had finished the 2 puppets when I went back to a project I've been working on for half of this summer and the beginning of this school year. The space-time ninjutsu technique. So far, I had gotten the activation, but the specifics of the do-to were not clear. The activation was a clap and would allow me to switch with an object. But the switch would be different from a hedge. A hedge only allowed the user to switch with the object of relatively small size and nothing in view, the chocolate. This would allow me to switch with a person and other objects of larger size than myself, using my access tracker to compensate for the size of the object. The difficult part was increasing the range and how much chakra it took. Ding. New schedule unlocked. Unnamed allows the user to switch with another person or object. The number of things switched in the vicinity is based on the chakra of the amount of chakra used by the user. L. Consumers 350 CH per activation. I again thought of a name, and I decided on the name. Hakusha, meaning applause in Japanese, which was accurate because the activation was the clapping of my hands. I went back to my apartment to read a book I had recently found from the library. This book was titled Chakra Animal Recipes. Chocolate animals were like chocolate beasts, but with far less chocolate than their systems, and their meat or other energy could be used as food. These animals were interesting to me because my hobby was cooking, and I was interested to see what these monsters really tasted like. I soon heard a fawish and found a sticky note in my kitchen. The sticky note was congratulating me on my coconut ties with the Uchiha heir. I replied in kind with a sticky note, asking why I was being watched. I left the room, and not even a second later, the same sound occurred, and I went to check it out. I found a sticky note saying that I had become close with many important figures in a short amount of time, and a question for me saying, "Why do you strive to grow so much stronger?" I replied with another sticky note with no hesitation, saying I need to get stronger to protect what I care about. This in codes. Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Choji, and whoever else I find on the way. When I left the kitchen for the final time, I found a book on my floor table titled Proper Jutsu Creation. I read the book for the rest of the night, and as I was an idea formed in my head to make another do-to before I left the academy. I knew of the dangers that would occur in these next few years, and I wanted to be prepared for anything to come. The next day was seriously important. This was the day me and Sasuke would go to the Hokage with our proposal of the plow's loaning of the horses, and the selling of some of the Uchiha clan weapons and scrolls. We had booked an appointment earlier in the week, which gave us time to prepare. Sasuke's statement said he was the one who was going to present this to the Hokage as the Oka clan proxy. As we made our way to the receptionist, she showed us an after. We showed her our appointment time with the Hokage. As we went into the office, the old man was smiling, and there was a tuning standing right next to his desk presiding over the engagement. Now, boys, please tell me what you have to bring to me today," the old man said in a friendly tone. Sasuke began with, "I wish to sell an invention called the plow, which will help tail fields at an exponential rate. He then showed the blueprint I made and continued saying this time, contraption can be pulled by people or horses to automatically fill the fields with the wooden hooks as shown to you in the blueprints. Additionally, the loaning of horses with a narrow clan to pull the plow and an automatic seed spreader. That will cost extra. Along with all of these, I would like to these specific scrolls for elemental juice and more, along with weapons that are not of cultural importance to my clan. He said at the end, giving the Hokage another paper that listing the items being sold. The Hokage looked at the paper and nodded, and he looked at my design and also nodded. Looking in his eyes, I can see it. Come to a decision that would be in our favor. I've decided to let this notion pass. The plow alone will exponentially raise the speed of tilling the fields, along with giving us extra people to put 2 different jobs. And as for the loaning of the horses through the Nara clan, I accept, as well as long as the practices are done with due diligence, as well as the selling of items that are not of cultural importance to your clan. Although the village will have to ask you to pay taxes on money collected, being about 5% of earnings collected by Uchiha clan each year. Are these terms acceptable? The old Kage said. Sasuke agreed to these terms, and soon we had a contract written up and signed by both me and Sasuke. Due to the fact that I would be making the plows and the Uchiha clan would be selling and receiving royalty from the plows. We soon left the Hokage Tower with the plan to fill up the Uchiha clan coffers, being a complete success. But this was not the end of my day. Late at night, I was in the fields practicing the new jutsu. I had in mind this in particular would combine Jinjutsu and Ninjutsu prowess. I preformed the tiger rat, ox dragon, monkey, bird, and dog hand signs, and soon the mass of insect puppets that I had made were all put into one giant spherical ball, and I could feel every individual moving part of this, including the poison capsules. Ding, new skill acquired, Ultimate Uzumaki. Skill rank Ultimate combines the desired puppets and abilities in the user's possession into one and hits their target with a blast of super condensed mass of puppets and their technology. This allows the puppet manipulator to utilize the extracted technology even after the original puppet was used for maximum Uzumaki. Congratulations on earning your first ultimate skill. Quest complete. Reward 3000 XP and title. Ultimate Gamer gives user a 30% increase for better drops in dungeons. You are now at level 35. EP 2360. Gonghua Tinin Mojam. ST 70 crit 120. I heard these from my scale and couldn't help but cry a little bit. I was so happy that I had gained my first ultimate skill and a new title. My mind was still racing on ways to improve this technique. I'd have to use some more advanced puppets. So that means I'd have to work a lot. Ami mind was still racing on ways to improve this technique. I'd have to use some more advanced puppets. So that means I'd have to work a lot harder. I will replicate my eye, dog puppet and bug puppets, and finish completing my more complex puppets and duplicate them as well. So this technique will better usable. As I sat there, happy crying, I looked up to the bright shining stars and realized that those stars were all shining for me at this one moment. Level 35, EP 2360 CH 9100 ST 70, crit 120. I woke up tired from all the training I did yesterday. I grabbed my notebook and wrote my ideas, like my next jutsu projection manipulation. It was dividing 1 second into 24 frames and trace a predetermined set of movements to execute in that second while projection is active. Anything caught must abide by the 24 FPS as well, or they will get frozen for 1 second inside an animation frame. And by eliminating frames from those 24 in 1 second, which means that I can keep the first and the last frame, essentially making himself 24 times faster. I had come up with a theory that I could active this with Jinjutsu and some mathematical predictions. I also thought on other things to improve my secret company. And Sasuke's clan, which was doing well, the plows were a revolution and went over well with the civilians. And the loaning of the horses was also working out fine. People underestimate the Naruto's ability to get serious, especially when it involves animals. And the selling of the scrolls and weapons went over well. The best part was that trust of the new Uchiha clan proxy increasing, with most ninja and some exclude clan shinobi. But still, if we became complacent, well, stop making progress. So I had ideas for increasing trade through my company with a bullet train That's right, I was sketching plans and blueprints. The village had trade with their Tonica Village supplies cloth, Hacho Village main glass supplier, Nikesh Port supplies most meats, Rancho Fire supplies most of the foreign goods, and Kinzoku Kazan Mount supplies metals. Our village is mostly self-sufficient on crops naturally grown. Nikesh Port is the furthest from the village, along with Rancho Fire. Ninja are often sent on missions to these minor villages to ensure the goods make it to the village. My train would be extremely helpful, but the manufacturing off this train is a different story. A bullet train is a metal cart, and on the train itself are superconducting electromagnets called bogies. When stopped, the train rests on rubber wheels. To begin motion, the train moves forward slowly on these wheels, allowing the magnets beneath the train to interact with those of the metal carts. To introduce this radical change, I would first have to get the Hokage on board, which means I'd have to increase my company's notability. Along with that, securing civilian effort into making this train. By introducing more ideas before to increase my reputability with the civilians, so they would know that this was a worthwhile investment. I might also have to manufacture a proxy for this investment, because I doubt the Hokage would take a kid seriously when introducing this idea. Along with that, I had the idea for a steam engine, well, more like a stem generator. This idea was posable because of Fujitsu tags that could absorb elemental chakra, and by combining fire and water tags and W massive stem engine about 30 times larger than Big Boy engine in my sketch, it looked like a pulsing hard. But looking at it and comparing a sketch of what we were currently using, mine was still just a bit smaller. Currently, the energy sustaining the village was a huge chakra battery that worked on over a 1,000 shinobi. But with this idea, we could theoretically put out the same amount of energy with a few chakra tags. As I got up and put up my notebook away, I then went to the academy. The day went as normal, until I ran into Shino at lunch. "Hey Shino, I got a few questions," I said to the quiet boy, eating only. He looked at me quietly, and I took this as a sign to continue. "Could you tell me more about your insects?" This seemed to get the boy talking. He seemed to go on and on about bugs. And I listened. If the boy was interested in things other insects, he'd be fine. Soon the day was over. After school, me, Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, Shikamaru, Choji, and Shino were in the training grounds. Sasuke and Naruto were sparing. Naruto was used seals to fight by hiding seals that make a smoke screen in his sleeve. And Naruto was agile, and his one-wind jutsu was practiced diligently. Hinata was hanging out with Choji, unusual. Shino and Shikamaru were playing, and they were even in terms of tactical genius. While I was working on new puppets, the first was new, a bird-like puppet armed with great speed and electric shock wings. It can support its master by carrying them while flying to increase their mobility, and can attack with its heavy wings charged with electricity, shocking anyone it hits and leaving them temporarily paralyzed. Then was Gamma, a toad puppet that uses its long tongue. Its tongue can be used to ensnare its master's target and is strong enough to throw and slam them into objects. The speed of the toad's tongue is useful for helping its master or an ally out of harm's way. Its large size also allows it to carry injured humans in its mouth. Next was Orochi, is a giant snake puppet that can quickly attack and ensnare its master's targets. It appears suddenly from the smoke to immobilize the target within its mouth, making for an effective surprise attack. The serpent size allows it to overpower larger things and can also be used to keep a target in place while another puppet attacks. Another one was Banshoi's, an elephant puppet that can spew large volumes of water that can be pressurized from its trunk. It can also be used to crush its master's target with its weight. Last but not least was Dado, is a massive swarm of rabbit puppets that serve as a distraction for me. Upon activating the technique, dozens of rabbits fill the area to distract the opponent, allowing the user to escape danger by using the chaos to their advantage. This took a large amount of time, mostly because I wanted to memorize the schematics, so I could replicate, which I did in the same day. Next was my final project, my projection manipulation. The specifics of how I managed to make this was based on FPS, the frames per rate of an electronic device like. When you're watching your favorite shows and there's a slight time lag, electronic device like. When you're watching your favorite shows and there's a slight time lag between the characters speaking. It's a malfunction in the frames per second. Each frame is a collage of movements. I was going to ask Sasuke to help when Hinata asked, "Can I help?" I looked at her and asked why. She answered slowly, "I haven't been all that useful and you've done so much for me." I smiled and said, "If you really want a plus, I'd like to see what you can see." She smiled and activated her eyes that could see all in a 315 angle. In Chakra Point, where chakra gathers, I preformed the dragon rat dog and boar hand signs. She then moved at me when she stopped with an invisible box outlining her that's seemingly more than just me and her consuite. I theorized that this was due to the amount of chakra I poured in, stretching across the field. She moved again, but was stopped again. This went on for half an hour. The technique was dividing 1 second into 24 frames and trace a predetermined set of movements to execute in that second while projection is active. And she was caught must abide by the 24 FPS, which was almost impossible, or they will get frozen for 1 second inside an animation frame. That enough, I said out of breath. She was also out of breath and nodded. I sat next to Shikamaru looking at the clouds. I thought, the stars are better. Level 35, EP 2360 CH, 9100 ST70, crit, 120 HP 1090. The next day I was walking, looked for a dungeon, when I found myself at the bookstore. Ding, dungeon found, do you wish to enter? I clicked yes, and I suddenly found myself in a town surrounded by water and ships. As I looked closely at the ships, a cannonball flew past me. I soon found the enemies were on the sea, so active my sprint skill and jumped on a boat closer to the town. There was 4 pirate at level 30 and 1000 horsepower. I pulled my sword in a decent-sized scroll, and as it opened up in a puff of smoke, out came my Gamma puppet. I had it grab THR Closet Pirate, and I slashed at his head. I died immediately, I thought, so if I hit a spot that would immediately kill a normal person, it dies immediately. I continued dogging underneath a strike and stabbed the head. Then I parried an attack from the left and struck out at his head as well. The last one was staying back. I put it under a Genjutsu, and while it was still, I stabbed its head. I put my Gamma away and pulled out new and got on top of it. I made flap its wings. I was flying around to make time pass. I was bombing the ships with the bombs I added. Soon I found the booze was holding a 3-section staff, Sanji gun. The staff was red with black patterns at the connecting parts of the staff. I quickly jumped down, and then I chained my chakra to the puppet, performing my Art of the Inferno technique, and the public shot out a fire blast from its mouth at the boss. I used my observation skill to reveal. Level 40, name Blackbeard, HP 27 ST 150. The man was fat with a pitch black beard. I then had the bird swoop down and at him, but I pulled it up before the enemy could break it with a fast swing. As it missed, it struck the ship. I could feel the shockwave as I landed. I put new away and called out Hasuki. The man ran at us, but I activated my projection manipulation, and as it stopped me, I hit IE with a brag of sword slashes, and Hasuki launched shuriken. The man was busy blocking my attacks, and as I jumped away to get out of the garage of shuriken, I used projection manipulation to stop the man from moving. Its health dropped to 1860, and it slammed its weapons down at me. I moved back, dogging the attack. I moved backwards to Hasuki and performed my Art of the Inferno technique and shot it out Fromy puppet, increasing the blast damage by putting more chakra into it, and it made the man move back by 20 feet. The man slashed down his weapon, and out came a black substance that came at me like flying slashes. I didn't panic and instead moved in front of it and used my full counter ability, shooting it right back at the man. His health was at 900. Before he recovered, I threw a scroll above his head, and I puffed my Bansho. My elephant pushed the man down, holding him in place, giving me enough time to rush at him with my activate my skill, dealing as much damage as I could before the man pushed my elephant off. And I backed off as well. His health was at 756. He went to deal with Bansho. I activated its pressurized water blast, taking off the man's arm. The man moved toward me with his back turned. I took advantage of this, stabbing him in his side, and yet he was still moving, and he attempted to hit me with his weapon. I dodged underneath and had Hasuki shout another barrage while he was still there. His health was at 500, and I was going to finish this off with my maximum Uzumaki technique. I performed with specific hand signs and felt my chakra was drained. And suddenly a swirl appeared above me where I had one hands. Is in that world where my extra puppets like created just as to make sure the techniques are maximum efficiency one used. Out of this world came super accelerated kunai that pierced straight through the man. Next was electricity that pierced the man, and then finally, the swirl was shot at the man in this world. Was surrounded by a dark pressurized water, and it faintly took the form of my puppet Orochi. And when it hit the man, there was a black and red highlighted chakra. When the chalk row residue faded, I heard a ding, and a notification popped up. Blackbeard, the pirate has been slain, XP received. 10,000, you have leveled up to level 42 HP, 2060 EP, 3300 CH, 10,000 ST, 100 crit, 150 new title acquired Jinchuriki Chakra. Reward 1 Chakra Schematic Extend, can extend the length of an object, can be applied to weapons. Reward 2 Special Grade Curse Tool. Playful Cloud's strength relies on the raw power of its user. Playful Cloud has been best utilized by those with incredible physical abilities. I looked at my rewards. I was most intrigued by the weapon and the new title. The title didn't seem to have any special effects, but I suppose it didn't make me feel better, and the weapon was incredible as long as I increased my strength stat. The weapon would grow stronger too. I soon left the dungeon and found myself going to a training ground to test out the new weapon. The training ground I went to in particular had dummies like it'd be used as practices. I was no master using my new weapon, but I didn't have to be, because it doubled my strength stat when you're using the web, so I could pretty easily smash through most things. My youthful friend, would you like to spar with me? I heard it from a loud voice different from my blonde friends. I looked over to the sound to see a bowl-cut boy with bushy eyebrows wearing green spandex, looking at me with fiery eyes. I recognized this as a character from Ken called Rock Lee. He was a prominent tied you to a master. I used my observed skill on him to find Rock Lee, level 42 HP, 2050 ST, 190. This man was very close to my level, and I knew what he was a great tied due to specialist, although he could not use any jutsu. I replied to him saying, sure thing, as long as it's not a to the death type of occasion. He said, youthful, of course, my friend. Let us have a beautiful battle. Got into his stance. I decided to not use my weapon and instead test out my hand combat skills. After all I had been putting work into my taijutsu, I got into my stance quietly. We stood like that for some time. Then I broke the starring contest by moving forward. I used one of the techniques in the flowing water, smashing rock style. Instant movement jumps at his opponent using special footwork, then elegantly and quickly moves as if he was flowing, and confuses them with a swift feint, and then performs a fast piercing attack. As he attempted to counter my attacks, I simply moved around them and performed feints and hit vital areas too quickly in the match. But as he attempted to counter my attacks, I simply moved around them and performed feints and hit vital areas too quickly in the match. But Lee's endurance was something to truly be admired. He attempted to hit my head, but instead I attempted to perform a right hook on my chin. But instead I moved with the punch and performed the tornadic water spouts. The user stands on their hands and twists their upper body, kicking at the opponents. Specifically, aiming at the chin move. As I stood on my hands, I performed 4 successful hits to his chin with the back of my foot. Lee skidded back and attempted to perform a flying drop kick, but I flipped out of the way, and he took this time to forward and attempt to land multiple combos. But I dodged around and parried. I was then using the first fist of flowing water, crush rock sad face, the perfect blend of offense, and leading his enemies around the nose by moving like a calm stream, only to finish them off with a punch strong enough to smash great rocks like a raging river. And as I saw my moment destroyed, I took it and used currently my strongest technique. Tsunami Palm user strikes the chest of an opponent with a force equivalent to that of a raging tsunami, which can do extraordinary damage, such as completely carving out a person's chest cavity. Currently, it wasn't as strong as depicted, but it was enough to get the job done, and stunningly. Lee long enough for me to pin him to the ground and say, "You've been pinned, and can I have weapons?" We never discussed whether or not I could use any weapons or jutsu. Give up, I win, Lee soon said after struggling for a minute. I give. Astley got up soon. I felt the air displaced, and another green spandex wearing bushy-eyed bull haircut man was in front of me. He said, "Lee, it seems you've lost. We'll increase your training by a 100-fold, and we'll run around the village on one finger." The boy in question was crying tears of joy at seeing his sensei. The man turned to me and said, "I saw your spa, and it was quite youthful. I must admit, I never thought I'd see another genin with as strong as Taijutsu abilities as my Lee. I simply nodded to his thanks and said, "Your student is extremely strong. I'd love to spar again. Just come find me." Then I left the clearing as the two hugged and cried in youthful joy. At that moment, I realized I was stronger than I at first thought. This system played a huge part, but at the same time, it's not everything I said. Remember this. I thought looking at the bright blue sky. Level 42 HP, 2060 EP, 3300 CH, 10,000 ST 100, crit 150. The afternoon of the next day. You'd be surprised to find me at the Hyuga mansion, sitting with another famed neglectful father, Hisashi Hyuga. If to look back just a couple hours ago, you would have seen a truly surprising sight. "Are you Takahashi?" I heard a deep voice behind me, and as I turned around to see who it was none other than the stoic Hisashi Hyuga. I gave him my most formal bow and replied with, "Yes, that is my name. I'm sorry to ask, but is there a reason you were looking for me?" He looked at me and said, "I would like you to come with me if you are up for it." I looked behind him and saw Hinata and decided that it was okay if I went. And that's all I got here. I was currently watching a mock spar between Hinata and her sister Hanabi. The spar was going, and Hinata's favorite. I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted me here for. After the mock spar with Hinata's victory, we went inside to have tea. It was rather nice. I had no clue what it was, but still all the same. It was nice. Then Hayashi spoke. "I thank you for whatever you've done to help another come so far." I replied to him quickly. "I didn't do anything. It was my friend, honestly." "Well, nevertheless, thank you," the stoic Hyuga said. Me and Hinata soon left, and the younger Hyuga was quiet the whole time. I turned around to find Hanabi, who let follow this here. Hinata tried asking why she had followed us, but Hinata replied with, "I wanted to know where you got stronger from, and what are you doing around the dumb blonde?" The dumb blonde comment really got to him, and Hanabi started to argue. Hinata and Saskatoon tried to calm the situation. Hanabi only threw more gasoline into the fire, with comments such as, "But face shorty stupid," and "utterly useless." At one point, Naruto had to be restrained by Sasuke, and it became clear why Hinata never talked about her sister. As Hanabi was going to make another insult, I already dropped the top of her head. "Oh, what that's for weirdo," she said. I replied with, "You should apologize to your sister for being so rude to her friends. Aren't you a clan? Should obey, you should be more cordial," I said in a reprimanding tone, as she was going to argue with me. I simply karate topped her head again until she apologized to her sister. When Naruto brought up, "Hey, why don't you apologize to me?" I replied to him, saying she shouldn't have to apologize for things that are true. I finished with a joking smirk. The others laughed, including Hanabi. But Naruto just had a sulking look on his face. I continued saying, "If you wanted to know what your sister was doing, you should have just asked you to her siblings." She yelled, "You don't act like you're better than me." I chopped her head, saying there's no need to yell, ignoring her statement. "Well, while you're here, you can help us with my newest project. It's called the radio. All I need you to do is take this and go into the woods as far as you can," I said to her, handing a prototype walkie-talkie I had made the other day. She looked at me with an accusing face, thinking I was just trying to get rid of her, but she went into the forest. I waited about 5 minutes, and then I activated it, saying what she was saying right now. That B. He just wanted to figure it out of me. Doesn't know why the stig works. He thinks I'm that some child. "Heart radio, you're very lozier. You shouldn't try that cursing." She was apparently startled cause. I could hear a slight scream. The others were celebrating my success in the background well. Except for Shino and Shikamaru, they were as quiet as ever. And now he came back and said that was pretty cool. I said, "Do you want to see cooler things?" with a smile on my face. And then I head patted her. Suddenly I got a ding and a notification from my system. Quest complete, brotherly love. My friend, the young Hyuga and Hanabi reward 1 uniquely designed trench knives worn like brass knuckles, with a zigzag-shaped blade to give them teeth with chakra flow skill. Reward 2 title. Family leader increases respect from those who think of you as family. Reward 3 system update. Crafting mode. This mode allows user to simulate creating large structures or small. The devices and the amount of material needed to make the device and how to use the material. These were good rewards for a pretty minor quest. ion, but the last one intrigued me the most. This would ask Vanessa to help me with my projects, and now I could get into architecture and construction work. Later that night, I was trying to use my construction mode. On my vision was everything outlined in green. And in my vision, I pulled out a chunk of a building, and I saw as the building fell apart. And information came to my mind, and I could do the calculations on how the integral structure fell apart and how to improve structure. Then as I thought of a massive skyscraper. Then in the middle village, a massive skyscraper appeared, and information came to my mind. Like how the metal, concrete, and glass was used to make the building. And a screen that shows the amount of time it would take with my amount manpower. Which was just me, so the widow said not possible. I then thought of a more sustainable project. I thought of a Game Boy, and as a Game Boy, and the manpower screen said 30 hours. And a new screen that said with a scroll between the words technological and chakra-based. I moved the scroll middle and information came to my mind on a more chakra viable option. I spent the night experimenting and did get to sleep till late at night. I woke up from a horrible night's rest and looked at my notes and theories. I realized that when I asked for a system, I didn't specify which kind. So, she gave me all types, but none of them have been uploaded yet. The first system I got was a gaming system that allows me to gain skills and enter dungeons. The second system is a crafting one, which allows me to create simulations, interact with them, and even see how long it would take to craft them. It also tells me whether they're chakra-based or tech-based. This gave me ideas for restructuring Konoha or even the surrounding villages. I went to the Ninja Academy, but something was off. The arrival of Naruto didn't happen. In fact, no one had seen him all day. Not Sasuke, Shikamaru, Hinata, Choji, Shino, or even the old man at the ramen shop. After that realization, I rushed around the village. I had to figure out what happened. Naruto didn't go to his favorite ramen shop. He would either be heavily depressed somewhere or had been taken. He wasn't exactly popular in the village, so I could understand that. I went to his apartment, only to find that it had been blown up from the inside. Upon investigating, it looked like there had been a struggle. There were no shinobi patrolling his house. It was strange. Whoever took him was in cahoots with whoever had been keeping an eye on Naruto. I knew he was being watched. There's no way the Hokage or his advisors would let him out of their sight for one reason or another. I had my other friends search for him as well, and I asked the clans for help, but there was still no luck. The ninja who took Naruto must have gone to a secure place, somewhere where no shinobi would follow. I was getting closer to the outer edge of the village when it hit me. The Forest of Death. It's right at the edge of the village, near the wall. And it was easy to get in and out of the forest, especially since no one, not even shinobi, would go in there on their own. As I ran across the village, I thought about what one place would be impossible to find Naruto unless, with the large monsters inside, the forest could give even some jonin a run for their money. I activated my observation skill, which evolved into King of Observation. It allowed me to see HP, EP, ST, all common, uncommon, rare, and unique skills 360-degree vision, along with unknown abilities. The skill gave me the sharpest vision, and I saw footprints. It was almost like I could see the man running with a sack, and I could even smell ramen from far away. Hinata and Sasuke caught up with me. I didn't explain much, just kept running. They knew where I was going. Soon, I saw 3 ninjas. One was a short man with no hair, standing to the right. The second was an ordinary-looking man, too normal to stand out, standing on the left. And the man I was targeting was tall, with a lightning streak in his hair and a sack on his shoulder. I threw a special chakra-infused blade at him, empowered by my fire chakra and the special effect from my Alpha Pack title, which boosted the power of my shuriken, causing an explosion. The blast took out the ordinary-looking man, and the sack flew into the air. I jumped up, caught it, and landed on a tree branch above the man with the lightning streak in his hair. I threw the bag to Sasuke and said, in a no-nonsense tone, "Take Naruto back to the village and tell the shinobi where the ninja in the Forest of Death are." Sasuke looked worried, and Hinata, noticing, stepped in saying, "I'll stay here with Takahashi. Sasuke, you go." Before he left, Sasuke shot a fireball at the bald man, who retaliated with a water ball. In the steam, Naruto jumped in and sealed off the man's chakra points with a blow to his head. leaving him dizzy. The man I was facing had a lean build, but his speed was evident. I could see he carried a wakizashi, longer than Sasuke's tanto, but shorter than my katana. I was cautious. He was at least a chunin. Hinata's POV. The short, bald man was dizzy, his chakra completely messed up, so using jutsu was out of the question. I heard him mutter, "You dirty clanbai." Before he could finish his vulgar words, I rushed in, using my gentle fist technique. He managed to parry some of my strikes, but I blocked his counters and hit several of his chakra points. He kicked me back, but I could still see Takahashi being pressured by the strange, lightning-haired man in the forest. I don't have time to worry about Takahashi, I thought. I need to take down this vulgar shinobi. Takahashi's POV. I was pushed back as the Chunin tried stabbing me when I was off balance in midair. I summoned a massive swarm of rabbit puppets to create a distraction and disappeared, using the Hakusha technique to switch places with his goodnight pouch. I appeared behind him and struck with my katana, leaving a shallow gash as he barely dodged. I continued to strike, switching places with rocks using my Hakusha technique, but I couldn't avoid his lightning-infused blade. He rushed me with such speed. My mind raced as I realized it was too fast for me to keep up with. Suddenly, he slashed through my side, paralyzing me momentarily with the lightning chakra. As I struggled to stay on my feet, he cut into my back, leaving a deep gash. Blood poured out, and I collapsed thinking, is this where it ends? Why did I die again? At least it wasn't as cool as last time, but still, I can't let it end like this. I need to make sure Naruto's okay, and I still have to help him become Hokage. There's no way he could do all that paperwork by himself. Just as I thought that, I felt a strange, flowery pattern in my blood, and the man collapsed in front of me, coughing up blood. He muttered, "What? What is this? It feels like my insides are rotting." I replied, "That'd be me. You tried to hurt my friend, Naruto Uzumaki. I can't let you go." The man didn't take me seriously, but at that moment, I wasn't backing down. Using all my strength, I performed the piercing Fong technique, sending him flying with more blood spilling from his mouth. Before he could use his lightning chakra again, I froze him with my projection manipulation ability for 1 second, long enough to imbue my sword with fire and strike his chest. Using my projection source again, I summoned my Bansho, crushing him into the ground. I backed up and used my maximum Uzumaki technique, unleashing a blast of all my extra puppets, birds, dogs, bunnies, elephants, and snakes spiraling toward him. The attack dealt serious damage, but he was still alive. I jumped into the air, and as he threw a shuriken at my sword, knocking it away, I took out my backup weapon, a staff infused with black and red chakra. I slammed it down on his face with all my force, shouting, "All my force, go down already!" The impact created a massive chakra explosion, leaving the man lying on the ground, half his face destroyed. It was gruesome, but I was too exhausted to care, gasping for air. As I heard footsteps approaching, I passed out, collapsing onto my back. Asuma's POV. I was jumping from rooftop to rooftop, searching for Naruto. A boy from the Uchiha clan found me and said, "If you're a shinobi, there are 3 ninjas in the Forest of Death who kidnapped Naruto. He's unconscious in a bag. I'm taking him back to the Hokage. Can you help my friend?" I agreed, not able to refuse. When I reached the forest, I saw a Hyuga girl who had incapacitated one of the ninjas. She told me that the 3rd ninja was dead, killed in an explosion. I had to leave the dead man behind and focus on the boy. I found him with various cuts and chakra exhaustion, lying unconscious, and I took him to the hospital immediately. Takahashi's POV. I woke up in a hospital room, thinking I had died. The doctor informed me I was severely injured, but the Hokage would cover my recovery for saving Naruto. The Hokage came in and thanked me, although he mentioned I could have informed a ninja first. A few days later, I left the hospital, hearing a notification. Quest completed. Save the Uzumaki quest. New feature unlocked. Marketing system. Allows the user to see the stock market of their items and how the public receives them. As I walked, a blonde blur rushed at me, crying, "I was so worried. I'm sorry." Before he could finish, I chopped his head lightly and said, "Stop crying. It's not your fault. I'm fine." Now put a smile on your face. Naruto wiped his tears and smiled. A couple of days later, we were invited to a clan meetup. Shikamaru's mom even suggested I open my own restaurant. That got me thinking. Naruto joked about the name KFC, Kick-Ass Fried Chicken, but I liked Shikamaru's suggestion, Cloudy Chicken. Level 42 HP 2060, CH 10,000, ST 100 Crit 150. Title: Alpha Pack Animal Lover, Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor. It's been about a year since I started heading to the academy with my friends. As we were walking to the front door, I glanced at my notification board and reflected on my training days. I remembered being in the field, constantly spiking my chakra. I made the bird hand signs and said cry. Suddenly, a loud sound rang through the clearing, piercing the ears of any animals nearby, though I was fine. A notification popped up, ding, new skill acquired. Skill rank, cry, projects a high-pitched tone over a wide area, overwhelming the hearing of anyone in range and knocking them unconscious. This was happening, but I couldn't stop here. Soon, I'd be graduating from the academy and becoming a full-fledged ninja. I needed all the skills I could get. I spiked my chakra again in the field and noticed it wasn't just affecting me or others. It was influencing the chakra itself, almost as if I had awakened something new. My chakra wasn't just affecting the human body, but in tiny ways, it was manipulating chakra too. Suddenly, a black dome appeared around me, and I got another notification, ding. New skill acquired. Skill rank rare. Shizukana Yuru. Creates a dome vacuum that nullifies the senses of chakra, sight, sound, and scent. The only sense retained is touch. Flashback ends, and we're back in the present. My friends and I are entering the academy, ready for our tests. The tests were the same as always, with the addition of the transformation and replacement jutsu, along with completing the hand seals. Naruto barely passed, almost failing if it weren't for the written test. Afterward, Iruka-sensei announced the new teams. Team 10, Sensei Asuma Sarutobi, Hinata Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara, and Takahashi. Team 8, Kurenai Yuhi, Shino Aburame, Ino Yamanaka, and Kiba Inuzuka. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Choji Yakamichi. Once he finished, I tuned out the others, waiting for my team's sensei. As the others left, I waved to my friends. Team 7 wouldn't be around until late. Asuma's POV. I was sitting in a joint meeting, waiting for the Hokage to begin. We were stalling because Kakashi was late. When he finally arrived, the Hokage began. This discussion is about the distribution of genin among the Jonin ranks. Here's the current distribution. Papers were handed out with the new teams. Most were unimportant, but the ones with clan children and Takahashi stood out. It's well known that Takahashi has close ties with several clan children and has even taken down a Chunin-ranked ninja. Kakashi's Genin squad would consist of Naruto, Takahashi, and Sasuke. Team 8 would be Kurenai Yuhi, Shino Aburame, Hinata Hyuga, and Kiba Inuzuka. Team 10 would be Asuma Sarutobi, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. Asuma was chosen to lead the new Ino Shikicho team, but Kurenai seemed to have some objections. The Hokage asked, "Do you have any objections?" Kurenai replied, "Yes, I would like to swap Ino with Hinata." The Hokage questioned the change, noting that the Ino Shikicho team has been remarkably effective. Kurenai countered, "It's worked so well that other nations are now aware of it. We need a change. Also, I could teach Ino a variety of techniques, particularly her clan's mind manipulation skills." The Hokage considered this and added, "If we're removing Ino, who will replace her?" Kurenai suggested, "Hinata. She could learn a lot from Asuma-sensei, especially in physical combat." The Hokage agreed and also suggested replacing Takahashi with Choji. He believed Takahashi could benefit from Asuma's physical combat expertise, while Kakashi could teach him ninjutsu, though he already demonstrated a natural talent for it. The new teams were as follows. Team 7, Kakashi, Choji Akamichi, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha. Team 8, Kurenai Yuhi, Shino Aburame, Ino Yamanaka, Kiba Inuzuka. Team 10, Asuma Sarutobi, Hinata Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara, Takahashi. Back to the present. We were heading to a barbecue place, and I was thinking about what kind of test Asuma-sensei had in store. We didn't have bad teamwork, but I wasn't sure what to expect. We arrived at the popular Mega Rabber Barbecue and got a booth. Asuma-sensei spoke up after the food arrived. All right, let's introduce ourselves, say what we like, dislike, and our dreams while we eat. He went first. My name is Asuma Sarutobi. I like smoking, I dislike crazy people, and my dream is to be with a woman. Hinata went next. My name is Hinata Hyuga. I like lavender. I dislike people who hurt others for no reason, and my dream is to grow stronger. Shikamaru surprised us by saying, my name is Shikamaru Nara. I like clouds and shogi. I dislike troublesome people, and my dream is to make sure others can be as lazy as me. That last part made me laugh. I hadn't expected that from him. Then it was my turn. My name is Takahashi. I like training, puppets, animals, and family. I dislike people who hurt my family. My dream is to help improve the village. After I finished, Asuma-sensei said, tomorrow you'll have another test to see if you're ready to join a team. Just because you've graduated the academy doesn't mean much. Meet me at Training Ground 22 at 8 a.m. tomorrow. After eating, we headed to Sasuke's house. Even though Sasuke wasn't home, it had become our unofficial hangout spot. It was better than sitting in a quiet, empty compound. We talked about the team changes, and Hanabi would be joining the academy soon. 3 hours later, Sasuke, Naruto, and Choji finally arrived. Naruto ranted about their sensei being 2 hours late, while I worked on blueprints using my construction system. The buildings in this world were simple, with few electrical appliances. There were built-in fire pits for heating homes during the winter, but no air conditioning. I was planning to make air conditioning units, microwaves, and simple ovens that could run on chakra. I wanted to sell them through my own company, which meant I had to create buildings to sell my products. The buildings would be located at the edge of the market district, where competition was minimal. The first floor would be for selling appliances, and the second would be for demonstrations. The building would be made of concrete with rebar and featured dark brown oak on the outside, a common design in Konoha. I also began theorizing a new fire jutsu, but I was still figuring out the details. The next day, my team and I met up at the training ground Asuma-sensei had specified. He greeted us with, all right, your test is to beat me. I thought, how are we supposed to beat a Jonin? He then said, begin, standing still and waiting for us to make the first move. Since the objective was to beat him, I saw no reason to hide in the forest. Shikamaru, however, was daydreaming, staring at the clouds. I rushed toward Asuma-sensei with Hinata, who followed up with a well-timed jutsu. I used my water stream rock-smashing fist while she employed her piercing fong. Before Asuma could counter, Hinata intervened, and before he could stop her, I took over. Asuma kicked me back to deal with Hinata, but I activated my new technique, the Hyper Mode, which appeared as flames in the shape of a V on my forehead. The flames dotted my chakra system and gave me a boost in power at the cost of some minor burns and exhaustion. With my increased speed, I rushed back toward Asuma-sensei. We clashed in a battle of tigers, and while Asuma was clearly holding back, I could feel the difference in our strength. Asuma's POV. I was holding back, of course. There was no way I would go full force on kids fresh out of the academy. But Takahashi, he was impressive. When he activated his hyper mode, I could feel his chakra spiking. He was managing to keep up with me, despite my higher rank. This kid might be something special. After 5 minutes of the skirmish, I used my water stream encampment, infused with my chakra, and combined with my alphabet title. It created a dust cloud from the impact where I hit Asuma's sensor and pushed it backward. This was when Shikamaru's plan took effect. The dust cloud gave him enough shadow to extend his technique and freeze my sense of movement, keeping me still for a moment. But before he could do anything significant, I used my projection manipulation to hold him in place. While he was immobilized, I struck all of his chakra points, shutting down his chakra momentarily. Then I used Shizukana Yoru to cut off his senses. After that, I cut myself and spread the blood on him, using my decay technique to injure him further. From there, I applied her 38-pound techniques to incapacitate him more. Shikamaru's shadow technique slipped, and Asuma was free. He attempted to use his knuckle blades to attack, but before he could, I blocked him with my own pair. We were locked in another stalemate, with him holding back while I used everything I had. My hyper technique was not finished, but it took up too much chakra. I soon had to deactivate it, but it was fine. As soon as I did, Asuma came in from behind with a kunai, trying to disable Asuma's legs. Before he could strike, Asuma kicked him away, and I was pinned to the ground by Asuma a second later. After 20 seconds, Shikamaru looked at the two of us and, sensing our situation, said, "I give." As soon as I said that, I got up, tired and late, and said, "You all did a good job. Sadly, you didn't win, but you passed. Ed, you're strong enough to work under my command." Hinata and I got up, and as I looked at Shikamaru, I could tell he was happy, even though he had the same stoic expression. Hinata was ecstatic and hugged us both tightly. Over the next 4 weeks, Asuma-sensei tested our chakra natures. Takahashi had fire, one of Asuma-sensei's natures. Hinata had water, and Shikamaru had earth. He taught me his fighting style with chakra blades, while Hinata worked on improving her style with water scrolls, as Asuma had experience fighting Hyuga. Shikamaru received earth scrolls, and we discussed team formation. Mostly, we ate at restaurants. I also opened my first chicken restaurant, CC Cloudy Chicken. The restaurant was the first of many, equipped with stove, ovens, and state-of-the-art microwaves, all made by me personally and sold through my company. The building was white, reminiscent of clouds on a sunny day, with a glowing sign that read Cloudy Chicken. I also opened an appliance store to sell the stoves, ovens, and microwaves. Checking my company's account balance, I saw that it totaled 4 million yen, approximately $27,456. The next day, we were called into the Hokage Tower. We entered the Hokage's office, and Asuma-sensei asked, "So, what did you need?" with a lazy tone. "Sometimes, I think my sensei is just like the Nara clan." The Hokage replied, "I need you to back up Team 7. We don't have any others to send, and Kakashi is in poor health right now. Your mission is to guard the bridge builder Tizuna." "Understood." Asuma-sensei nodded, and we left the office. Outside, Asuma-sensei told us to pack for at least 2 weeks. 30 minutes later, we met up at the village gate and set off toward Team 7. The journey took about 3 days, as we stopped to catch our breath and eat. When we arrived at the location specified in the letter, it was the bridge builder's house. Asuma-sensei knocked on the door, and we were greeted by a beautiful young woman named Tsunami, the bridge builder's daughter. She said, "You must be the others that were called. Thank you for coming. Your friends are upstairs with their sensei." We made our way upstairs, where Kakashi was sitting weakly, and Sasuke was brooding against a wall. Choji was eating chips next to Naruto, who was pestering Kakashi about his health. I was relieved to see my friends were okay, and that Kakashi was recovering. We were briefed on the situation and made a plan to take shifts guarding Tizuna and his daughter, while also training in preparation for our next encounter with Zabuza and his cohort, which seemed inevitable. Later that evening, I was helping Tsunami cook for my friends while they trained in the tree walking exercise. Fortunately for me, I had unlocked the technique earlier. Tsunami needed some herbs from a nearby patch, so I went to fetch them. While gathering the herbs, I spotted a girlish figure. Upon making eye contact, I recognized her as Haku, Zabuza's cohort. She asked me, "Are you a ninja?" I replied, "Yes, I'm just picking spices for a meal we're having today. Would you like to join us?" Despite her being aligned with the enemy, I respected her idea of being strong while having something to laugh about. "Yes, that sounds rather nice," she replied. I gathered the herbs and escorted Haku back to the bridge builder's house. As we arrived, the rest of my friends showed up. Asuma and Kakashi both gave me lecturing looks, and I glared back at them. Tsunami and I cooked chicken katsu curry, and we served enough for everyone, including extra for Haku. We enjoyed dinner together for the next few days, with Haku continuing to visit. I suspected she was gathering information, but she seemed to genuinely enjoy our company. 7 days later, we were leaving the small village, crossing the bridge built by Tizuna. As we were crossing, a thick fog rolled in, and I felt a chill in the air. Soon, three figures appeared on the bridge. One was wrapped in bandages with a giant cleaver blade, Zabuza. The second was Haku. And the third was an unexpected figure, a man with a stone headband, a longer sleeve on one arm, and a red mask covering his nose and mouth. He was holding a jit-shaped dagger. I used my observation skill on him and found COSA level 36, HP 1000, Chakra 100, Strength 100. The weapon he was holding could nullify chakra on contact. I knew this could be dangerous, so I decided to take him seriously. I signaled to Asuma, indicating that I was ready. "So, you brought more friends this time," Zabuza said arrogantly. "Kakashi's well, so have I. I hope your brats have improved." For a moment, we stood off, then the battle began. COSA came at me, and I countered with my own dagger, blocking his attacks. Zabuza and his cohorts rushed to engage the others. Choji and Naruto guarded the bridge builder. The fight with COSA continued. He wasn't particularly strong, but his weapon was a concern. In a moment of hesitation, he managed to cut me slightly, temporarily disabling my chakra. I had to rely on other techniques and use my water stream rock smashing fist to engage him. I dodged most of his attacks and countered with piercing strikes aimed at his torso, legs, and arms. As he staggered, I decided to finish him with a tsunami palm to his solar plexus. I saw the light leave his eyes. He had died, likely due to internal bleeding. I took his weapon, then looked over to see Sasuke trapped in a dome of ice, with the walls closing in. I shouted at Naruto to help Kakashi and Asuma with the seals, then rushed into the dome to help Sasuke. Once inside, Sasuke and I stood back to back, ready for whatever the masked ninja would throw at us. Soon, a barrage of Senbon flew toward us. We blocked some, but were pierced by more. The Senbon came faster and faster until I was hit in a vital area and lost consciousness. Sasuke's POV. Takahashi lay unconscious, and I heard the masked ninja say, "If only you had given up. Now, your friend is dead. Please surrender." Fueled by rage, I ignored her taunts and dodged the Senbon. I managed to grab Takahashi's body and move him out of harm's way. As I looked into the ice mirrors, I saw my eyes had transformed into the Sharingan, with 2 commas in each eye. I glared at the masked ninja. "I'll kill you now," I said, my voice laced with fury. The battle continued with me deflecting Senbon while trying to anticipate where the ninja would appear next. I struck at her, but she countered with rapid strikes. The fight raged on until I felt the ground heat up. Takahashi's POV. While I lay on the ground, wounded from the Senbon, I quickly thought of a way to heal myself. I used my reverse chakra technique, tricking my body into thinking the injuries had healed. Soon I got up, activated my hyper mode, and began using my observation skills to analyze the situation. I joined Sasuke without saying a word. For a moment, I saw the briefest flicker of relief on his face. He must have thought I was dead. Together, we pressed on, cutting down the ice mirrors and stopping the Senbon from hitting us. This time, I managed to get in close and wound the masked ninja. She hissed and vanished, only to reappear from the shadows once more. "This isn't over yet," she said, ready for round 2. The battle intensified, with no clear winner. Level 42, HP 2060, Gonghua, Munin, ST 100 crit, 150. Title: Alpha Pack Animal Lover, Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor. I woke up with a damp towel on my head, covered by a blanket. As I opened my eyes, I saw Haku, part of the zombie cohort of disabled people she had saved a few days ago. Wait, was it 2 days ago? Or 3? I couldn't even remember how long I had been out. I stared at her in confusion, and when she noticed me awake, she said, "You've been asleep for 2 days. I've been taking care of you while you were unconscious. You were suffering from chakra and karachi exhaustion, which gave you a fever." As I heard her words, I could feel just how weak I was. It must have been the result of using my unrefined hybrid technique along with my maximum Uzumaki technique in a single day. She left the room, probably to gather the others. Soon, Azuma and Kakashi entered. "So, kid, What was that technique you used? Azuma-sensei asked, and I saw Kakashi was curious too, though his expression remained nonchalant. I explained that it was a combination of Jinjutsu and my puppets fused into one technology. I also discovered that my Jinjutsu could physically affect the human body. They nodded in understanding before leaving me to rest. My friends came to check on me, and I told them I was fine. Haku, sitting awkwardly in the corner, didn't say much until I thanked her. Thank you for taking care of me while I was unconscious. Who knows what would have happened if you weren't here? Naruto probably would have drawn on my face. Even though I was still groggy from chakra exhaustion, I could have sworn I saw a light blush on her cheeks. The next day, we were leaving for the completed bridge. The villagers cheered from afar as we walked, though Naruto was adamant, yelling his thanks for their hospitality. Later, I learned the bridge would be named the Takahashi no Uzumaki Bridge. I rather liked the sound of it. After about 2 weeks of traveling, we finally made it to the Hokage's office. The journey had taken longer because we had more people and had to stop more frequently. The censors gave their reports, and the students left, except for Haku and me. The Hokage spoke. Takahashi, due to your exemplary work on this mission, you will receive a raise along with a reward of your choosing. As for Haku, you were involved with a missing ninja, which is a criminal offense. But given the circumstances, we won't punish you too harshly. I opposed the idea of Haku being punished, so I suggested a compromise. I'd like to request that Haku be my official assistant in company matters. After all, I'm the one who defeated her. This way, I can ensure she stays in check and she could help the village. The Hokage stared me down, testing my resolve. I didn't back down. After a moment, he agreed. Your request will be granted, as long as you can ensure she behaves. After we left the tower, Kakashi and the others parted ways with me, leaving me and Haku standing together. Out of nowhere, she said, "Thank you for taking pity on me. I'm truly sorry for the trouble I caused you." I saw the remorse in her eyes, and I responded, "I'm not just doing this for you. I seriously need an assistant for my business. I can't handle everything on my own. Plus, having another friend around never hurts." She smiled, and we began walking toward my apartment. 2 weeks later, I moved into a house near the clan compound district. It wasn't too hard, especially since I was already familiar with many of the clan leaders. My business ventures were growing, especially with the introduction of cameras that could capture photos. The science behind it was simple. Light entered through the lens and struck an image sensor, which processed the signal and created data. This data was then stored on a memory card made of chakra seals. The cameras were useful for both civilian and shinobi purposes, such as espionage and job verification. I was also increasing security by installing cameras around clan compounds and residential areas as mandated by the Hokage. At the same time, I was working on improving my puppets and developing new techniques. Some of the techniques I'd created so far were Skill Rank Unique Cleave, a Jinjutsu-based slashing attack that adjusts itself depending on the target's toughness and chakra level, making it impossible to dispel. It cuts through the enemy in one strike, but they're tricked into thinking they've been cut by the user's technique. Skill Rank Targeting. This allows the user to mark an enemy in red, an ally in blue, or a neutral target in white. It also lets the user track their target's past actions, but the skill must be at a high level to work effectively. I was also plotting out ideas for an AI based on my own consciousness that would help control puppets without the need for strings, using only chakra and chakra cores. This project, however, was progressing slowly. My current stats were level 45, HP 2200, Gonghua, Muinin Kongcham ST 120 crit, 170. Title: Alpha Pack Animal Lover, Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor. I had also commissioned some special weapons for my friends. Shadowbound Dagger, in Shikamaru's possession. Absorbs surrounding darkness, increasing its power. Jinsono Baika, a wakizashi with purple wrapping in Ino's possession. It can deal extreme damage to someone's psyche instantly or trap them in a favorable Jinjutsu. Uchiha no Ryu, a black Tanto with red lightning patterns in Sasuke's possession. It can discharge negative energy without losing electricity to the ground, delivering a powerful lightning strike. Bow staff, orange and gold highlights in Naruto's possession. It can control the basic 5 elements: fire, water, earth, wind, and lightning, one at a time, amplified with Sage Mode or Kyuubi Chakra. I had been busy, but now I was walking through the village with Haku behind me when I noticed Naruto talking to someone. I decided to follow him quietly. We soon encountered the Sand siblings, who were threatening Naruto's friend, the grandson of the Hokage. Just as I was about to unleash my puppet, I stepped in and threw a scroll under their feet, summoning my puppet Orochi in a puff of smoke. Before anyone could say anything, I stood in front of the aggressor and placed a kunai at his neck, saying, "Just because our villages are allied doesn't mean we are. Watch what you do here," especially when threatening the grandson of the Hokage and a fellow shinobi. My cold tone seemed to hit its mark. I could see the fear in his eyes. As his sister reached for her fan, Haku stepped in and said, "That's not a good idea, Shinobi-san. Please act rationally." Suddenly, a red-haired boy, Gaara, appeared and silenced the situation. "You are all a disgrace to our village," he said, turning to leave with his siblings. Before they left, he turned to me and asked, "What is your name?" "Kurama Takahashi," I replied. "Gaara," he said, "you will prove my existence." Then, with a swirl of sand, he and the others disappeared. "That was so cool," Naruto said, his eyes sparkling with admiration. I blushed slightly as Sasuke chimed in, "I could have handled it." "I know," I said, "but I wanted to grab some glory too." A few hours later, Asuma-sensei gathered us and mentioned that the Chunin exams were coming up. He'd nominated all of us, but warned us that they were no joke. There was a real chance of injury or worse. He told us to talk with our parents before making a decision. When I got home, I practiced summoning. I had read that it was possible to make a summoning contract with objects. I'd successfully done this and attached it to all my puppets. The next day, as I was leaving for the academy, Haku said goodbye. "I hope you know you'll come out unscathed." I smiled, and again she blushed. I met my team at the academy, and as we walked in, I noticed Naruto, Sasuke, Choji, and Lee sparring in the ring. Naruto waved and shouted, "Takahashi, over here!" When I approached, Naruto explained that Lee had challenged Sasuke to a fight. As the fight began, Lee blitzed Sasuke with a flurry of punches. Sasuke blocked and dodged, but Lee quickly ramped up the speed, forcing Sasuke to struggle. Eventually, Sasuke responded with an even faster blitz, but Lee was determined. As they fought, Lee said, "It seems I'll have to use my technique." He loosened bandages on his arms, wrapping them around Sasuke, and the two twisted in midair. Before they hit the ground, Sasuke broke free and kicked off Lee, landing on his feet. Gai-sensei arrived just then and scolded Lee for using his technique against a fellow shinobi. Lee apologized, but I ignored the rest of their conversation, focusing on Sasuke. Then Niji came up to me and said, "I hope you have something interesting prepared for the Chunin exams." I smiled, saying, "I'll give it my best shot." We headed to one of the gates to enter the Forest of Death. After a while, the gate opened and Shikamaru, Hinata, and I entered. As we moved through the trees, Shikamaru came up with a plan to ambush other teams. The plan was simple. Shikamaru would spread his shadow to immobilize them. Hinata would shut down their chakra points, and I would come in last to knock them out. After a day and a half, we managed to collect the scrolls we needed, one heaven and one earth scroll. We also had a few extra heaven scrolls, so we could afford to lose a couple. While running toward the tower, we heard a loud boom from nearby. Even though we already had the scrolls, we decided it might be important, so we ran toward the sound. We found some children trying to fend off 3 sound ninjas, the same ones who had been antagonizing us earlier. We jumped down, and Shikamaru took on the female ninja. Hinata faced the boy with the fuzzy hair who had troubled us, and I confronted the boy with long hair, who seemed to be the leader. Shikamaru fought the female ninja using his shadow technique, but she threw a needle that temporarily paralyzed him and put him in a genjutsu, giving him sensory overload. Despite that, Shikamaru connected his shadow and knocked her out by slamming her head against a tree. Hinata disabled the chakra points in the fuzzy-haired boy's arms. rendering his techniques useless, and quickly knocked him out. I took down my opponent by using my chakra control technique to cut off his arm, and as he staggered in pain, I knocked him out. Choji was unconscious on the ground, and Shikamaru hovered protectively over him. Hinata began patching up the boys. As we moved them to the center of the area, heading toward the tower, Sasuke woke up shakily. Black tattoos were spreading from his neck down his arm, and purple chakra began erupting from his body. He muttered, "I can feel the power. I must use it," before ruthlessly attacking me. I didn't retaliate, instead dodging and blocking his attacks. While he was focused on me, Hinata snuck up behind him and knocked him out by striking a chakra point at the back of his neck. We continued toward the tower. Halfway there, the others woke up, though not strong enough to fight. Sasuke groggily asked, "What happened?" I gave him a half-truth, saying, "I don't know what happened to you." Choji added, "We were attacked by Orochimaru, who put something on Naruto's chest and bit Sasuke's neck. You both fell unconscious afterward. While I was trying to take care of you, 3 ninjas snuck up on us and tried to kill us. The last thing I remember is Takahashi and you guys coming to our aid. When we reached the tower, we found a riddle on the door. Shikamaru came up with the idea of opening the scrolls on top of each other. We gave our extra scrolls to Naruto, and when we opened them, a sensei appeared from Team 7 scroll, while a Suma sensei appeared from ours. We then proceeded to the rest area. A few teams, like Gaara's from the sand and a severely injured Rain team, were already there, though one of their members was still conscious. We waited for the next 3 days. Team 8 arrived with the sound team, heavily injured, and another team from Konoha. At the end of the 3 days, we were escorted to an arena where we lined up in front of the Hokage, who stood on a balcony. He asked, "Is there anyone who would like to forfeit the exams? Doing so at this point will not affect your teammates." A few people bowed out, including the boy who had tried to talk to us earlier, Kabuto, along with some Rain ninjas. Only one remained, named Su. The Hokage began his speech. "These Chunin exams are not just for the entertainment of the people or for your promotion. This goes much deeper than that. It is an example to other villages. If you fail in these exams, it will reflect poorly on your village. These exams are a fight for your life and dreams. Killing is allowed in Chunin exams. Put your best foot forward and succeed." The Hokage then sat down, and my sensei, Hate, approached the stand to explain the rules. Cough, cough. This is the preliminary round. Too many of you have passed, so we'll do an elimination round. It will be a series of 1-on-1 battles between participants. Your names will be shown on the board, and you will fight your opponent. Use whatever you have in your arsenal to win, as long as you stay within the arena boundaries. No killing. Let's see the first match. The screen behind the Hokage displayed the first match, Sasuke Uchiha versus Yoroi Akato. The two made their way down to the arena. I told Sasuke, "Be careful, don't let him touch you." He nodded, though I could sense suspicion in his eyes, which was odd considering there was no reason to be suspicious of me. The battle began, and Yoroi activated a jutsu that emitted blue chakra from his hand, which he tried to touch Sasuke with. But Sasuke was cautious due to my warning, dodging each attack. When he found an opening, he struck and knocked Yoroi out. Hate declared, "Winner, Sasuke Uchiha." Sasuke got up and sat beside me, asking, "What really happened in the forest?" I replied, "We'll talk about it later, after the exams." The screen began spinning again, landing on Shino Aburame versus Abomi. As the battle began, Abomi shot out a blast from his arms. I smirked, realizing the battle was already over as Shino hit the back wall. Abomi began to shake as bugs poured out from tiny holes in his arms. He screamed, distracted, and Shino knocked him out. Winner, Shino Aburame. Shino returned to the stands while Abomi was taken to the medical bay. The screen spun again and landed on Su versus Ino Yamanaka. Ino, wearing the wakizashi I had gotten her, came down with a purple scabbard. The battle was quicker than the previous ones. They rushed at each other, and Su tried to punch Ino, but Ino cut him on the side. I smiled, knowing the battle would soon be over. Su's POV. I was cut on the side, but I wouldn't let that stop me. I was going to take down this Konoha ninja and become a hero for my village. I stepped back and used a water ball jutsu to knock Kokichi unconscious. After that, the exams were a breeze, and I passed with flying colors. I was taken back to my village and given a medal for winning the Chunin exams and saving my village. I was cheered and praised throughout the village, and I felt truly happy. Then I woke up in a medical bay, beaten and bruised. Normal POV. The battle wasn't too interesting for those who couldn't understand it, but its impact was clear. Ino had used her clan's jutsu to create an illusion with the sword, overwhelming her opponent's senses and knocking him unconscious with a single slash. Winner, Ino Yamanaka. The next fight was between Tintin and Temari. As the two took their positions, the battle began. Temari used her fan to blow away any weapons Tintin threw at her. Every time Tintin tried to get closer, Temari blew her back with powerful gusts. Eventually, Temari opened her fan fully, creating a massive windstorm. Tintin was lifted into the air, and Temari used her fan to guide her landing on it. Tintin was soon taken to the infirmary after the match. I didn't feel much about the fight, except a sinking feeling that it wasn't a good day for Team Guy. After all, Lee had been defeated by both me and Sasuke, and Tintin had just been humiliated. I couldn't wait to see what Hinata would do against Niji. I've been giving her some advice, so in a way, I was helping her with her training. The next fight was Shikamaru Nara versus Kintsuchi. As the battle began, it was pretty uneventful to me since it played out like their previous fight in the forest. Shikamaru knocked her out the same way as before. Winner, Shikamaru Nara. Then came the fight that promised to be more exciting. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba Inuzuka. Before the match even started, Kiba was boasting, saying, "All I have to do is take out the blonde, this will be no problem." Naruto shot back, "We'll see about that." When the battle started, Kiba and his dog charged at Naruto, but Naruto dodged skillfully, moving around and setting something up. I noticed him placing tags on the ground, and Kiba didn't seem to notice. The tags formed a diamond shape. After a while, Kiba was tired and standing right in the middle of the diamond. Naruto quickly performed the hand signs for dog, boar, and bird, and an orange barrier formed around Kiba. Kiba attacked the barrier, but nothing worked. He and his dog tried a joint attack, running at high speed to create a vortex in an attempt to break through, but the barrier held firm. Then Naruto placed another tag on the seal, and suddenly, energy spikes erupted, piercing Kiba's dog and knocking him unconscious from the shock. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. I clapped enthusiastically while Sasuke just smirked. Next up was the much-anticipated fight between Hinata Hyuga and Niji Hyuga. Niji looked over at us and sneered at Hinata, but she only stared back, undeterred. Naruto looked confused and asked, "What's his problem?" He was ignored, and I asked Hinata, "You okay?" She nodded, determination in her eyes, and walked down to the arena. Hinata's POV. The battle began, and Niji taunted me. "You're the failure of the clan. You'll soon join the branch family, just like all the failures. You're nothing, and you'll never be anything. Fate has decided this, and fate has also decided that I'll win." I ignored his words and got into my fighting stance. We exchanged blows, not necessarily trying to hurt each other, but trying to gain ground in a smooth, almost graceful dance of combat. It was brutal but controlled. I hit Niji across his forearm. He blocked, assuming it wouldn't hurt, but when he moved, I saw a red bruise starting to form. It happened again and again, and Niji had no idea why. The truth was, I had developed a new technique with the help of my training. It was called the ratio technique, which allowed me to not only strike the body but also target the internal chakra structures. This increased the damage I could do by striking along the chakra lines. As I focused, I could see the lines in my mind, and my chakra eyes glowed light blue as I used this technique. Niji managed to hit some of my chakra points, temporarily closing them. He sneered, "How does it feel, failure? You're just a branch family member now. You've been brought down to my level. It's your fault." I could see the hatred in his eyes, but I felt no sympathy for him. "Niji, I truly hate the way our clan operates. I'll change it. The way the branch family is treated as less than human is inhumane, and it needs to stop. I'm going to change that, but I can't feel sorry for someone like you." Someone who complains about his situation but has no will to change it. You blame fate. Yet here you are attacking me, a member of the Branch family. You don't have the strength to change anything. You bring out your hate and anger on someone who had nothing to do with your father's death. You should be ashamed. I can only feel hatred and pity for someone like you. I could feel his rage boiling, and he charged at me with his 64 palms, aiming to strike me 64 times in quick succession. As he got closer, I remembered Takahashi's training. Flashback. I was thrown across a clearing, and Takahashi asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded and asked, "What's the point of this training? I don't understand what we're really accomplishing here." I had been striking a tree while manipulating my chakra. It wasn't new to me, but I was trying to manipulate it in a new way, almost like splitting the chakra wave. Takahashi explained, "Do you know what happens when something goes so fast? It breaks the sound barrier." I'd read about velocity and sound waves, but I didn't understand. He continued, "When something crosses the sound barrier, it exerts an incredible force on whatever it hits. Now imagine applying that to chakra. If you could move your chakra so fast it creates a split, that split would release intense pressure, boosting your strength temporarily. You could break through anything. I believe you'll be able to master it, and I'll let you name the technique once you finish it." As he said this, I realized he wasn't just a friend. He was like family. My mother had passed when I was young, and my father had always been distant. Takahashi was the first person to truly connect with me, and I would master this technique for him. Back to the present. As Niji came closer to strike, I struck first. I created a split in the chakra, releasing a wave of black and red lightning from my fist. I hit Niji in the chest, and his body caved slightly as he was sent flying to the edge of the arena. He struck the wall, leaving a spiderweb crack. The proctor seemed in awe. Then he announced, "Winner, Hinata Hyuga, normal POV." I clapped and cheered, overwhelmed with joy to see Hinata prove to Niji that she was just as capable as anyone in the clan. Sasuke, Naruto, Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino cheered as well, while the other ninjas probably scowled at us. Hinata came up to me, smiling brightly, and gave me a huge hug. "Thank you for all your help. I couldn't have one without it." I patted her on the head. "It was all you. You put in the effort." Once the excitement calmed down, the next fight began. Lee versus Gaara. As the match started, Sasuke pulled me aside. We went to a nearby hallway, and Sasuke asked, "What happened?" I know it wasn't just nothing. "Your injuries prove that." I could see the concern in his eyes. Sasuke had been my first true friend, and I understood why he was worried. I explained everything, including the fight with my cousin. He listened carefully and nodded, relieved to hear it wasn't my fault. We returned to the arena just in time to see Gaara defeat Lee. Lee was being taken to the infirmary, his legs broken. The next match was Dosa Kinyuta versus Choji Akimichi. We encouraged Choji, knowing he wasn't the type to go all out in battle. The fight began with Choji inflating his fist and attacking Dosu. Dosa used his technique to daze Choji, and when he mocked Choji for being fat, it only fueled Choji to fight back. He used his rolling ball technique to incapacitate Dosu. Winner, Choji Akimichi. Then came the fight between Kankuro and me, Kurama Takahashi. My friends were curious and asked about my first name. Naruto said, "I had no idea what your first name was, but it kind of suits you." As Kankuro pulled out his puppet, he boasted, "This will be easy. I'll beat you no problem. You Konoha ninjas think you're the best, but you don't know what you're up against." I didn't respond. Instead, I formed a hand sign of my own, 2 fingers pointing up with my thumb and pinky raised. Black smoke enveloped me, and my new puppet, Nervin Canthera, appeared. It was a red mechanical puppet built for speed and power. It rushed at Kankuro's puppet, easily crushing it and going after Kankuro. He switched to another puppet, but it didn't stand a chance. My puppet blitzed him, and with one final strike, I knocked Kankuro unconscious. Winner, Kurama Takahashi. Afterward, we were told the winners of the preliminaries should pick a ticket to determine who we'd face in the next round. The upcoming matches were Sasuke versus Naruto, Hinata versus Choji, Lee versus Niji, Kurama versus Gaara, level 42 HP 2060, CH 10,000 ST 100 crit 150. Titles Alpha Pack Animal Lover, Family leader, ultimate gamer, mad inventor. The next day, a training plan had been made for me and my team. Shikamaru would be training with his plan. The same would go for Hinata, while Osama would be teaching me higher fired. You choose along with a few techniques to make up for my lack of ability in water techniques, wind techniques, and lightning along with earth. Throughout this week, I had not had any contact with my friends, and I also assumed that they were practicing with the weapons I had given them. I had learned fire style. Burning ash was one of the signature moves of Asuma Sarutobi. The user of this jutsu engulfs the area in chakra-infused gunpowder combined with ash by spewing it from their mouth. The user can then ignite the ash with a spark, causing an explosion which in turn burns its target surrounded by the ash. The spewed ash also serves as a smoke screen as it hinders the target visually. Katan, Tanabe no Jutsu, fire release. Cinder technique, description. Basic to all Katan users is the ability to set things on fire, obviously. This technique allows a person to snap their fingers and ignite a spark anywhere they so wish. A simple cinder and no more, this jutsu is used mostly in pranks and the like. Remote puppet manipulation allows him to freely control numerous cursed corpse puppets remotely through the completion of his AI skill rank rare. Kijutsu style flame. Breathing time Cell Moon Palace, second ultimate skill. Force others to follow predetermined motions set by the user. It would beam the motions into your head like an animation, and if you didn't follow those motions, you would be frozen into a frame. So the user would send a vision of someone getting punched in the face a couple times, and you would have to act in complete accordance of that vision, or be frozen. After every vision, the next would come in immediately at steadily increasing speeds. Think of it like a cutscene, or how in a fighting game, when you get command grabbed, your character cannot resist at all and must go through the entire attack. Even if you could dodge his attacks, you are forced to act out the animation in your head like being stuck in a cutscene. And within the ability to constantly repeat the opponent's actions in the form of animations to give their brain an info, dump to either immobilize them or hinder their movements. And just before the start prefix, I was correctly practicing Fujitsu. This was the technique Naruto is most prominent ability. The exams were about to start, but I couldn't stop here. This would be a true ace in the hole. Along with that, I improved my Nerve and Canthara into a samurai ass design is when a homemade massive no daji that was chakra conductive, and I also worked on it on its chakra system, allowing it to use due to far more effectively. Without me having to use the hand signs, but the puppet would hand signs. Sasuke POV. The winners of the last round were currently in a giant stadium with over thousands of people in stands above us. And the whole car gate was in a balcony above us with the sand kage. I was looking around, but I could not find the person. I was looking for the person whose strength. I still wish to test my strength against my brother Takahashi over the years. I have run to truly admire and think of him as another brother. But he is strong, and I need to be stronger. I understand that I can't do everything alone, and strength is only dependent on what you have to back it up. But still, it's a matter of pride. I have to prove I'm not just the weak. Uchiha, who sat back while his plan was massacred. Naruto leaned over to me and asked, "Where's Takahashi? I don't think he's ever been this late for something." I told him the truth, saying, "I have no clue, but he won't just miss out on something like this." As I finished my words, I felt attack from behind me, and as I looked behind, it was Takahashi asking with a smile on his face, "Am I late?" I didn't reply, only face forward. "Are there secretly?" I was happy that he wasn't late or disqualified. Normal POV. Afterwards, the new proctor for this exam asked us if we were ready, to which we remained silent afterwards. He said, "Everyone except for Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga. Exit the arena and go to the competitor's booth." We proceeded to the competitor's booth, to which Sasuke asked, "Who do you think will win?" I replied to him saying, "It's up in the air, but most of all, I'd like to see if Hinata has what it takes to actually hit him." It was no secret that she was into it. Everyone knew except for the blonde in question. As the battle begins, Naruto unleashes his Tenkei to blast wind at Hinata to tries making the battle a long-range one, but Hinata used a new technique. The Hyuga whirling air style, she would later tell me. It was not that throwing out her palm, creating a blast of wind from it. It was strong enough to match Naruto and blew up debris from the stadium. These blasts went on and on until, to particular, The strong blast of wind hit each other and caused an explosion that would cover the field in dust, giving Hinata enough time to move forward toward the smoke. And as she was in front of Naruto, she could see a seal was underneath her, and from that seal came lightning. That shocked her nervous system, giving Naruto enough time to pin her to the ground and point the staff at her. The proctor said, "Enough, winner Naruto Uzumaki," and the crowd burst into cheers. I couldn't hear exactly what people were saying, but I hope they were cheering for my friend. Naruto came back up to the competitor's booth, and Hinata was taken away. She probably wanted to go confront her father. I congratulated Naruto, and he simply wiped his nose, saying it was nothing. The next fight was Shikamaru versus Temari. Shikamaru down through the stairs normally, while Temari floated down on her phone. The battle began. Temari did not waste time. She waved her fan, causing a massive wind blast. Shikamaru dodged behind a tree to avoid damage. She should continue to rip up the ground while the wind blast. Shikamaru used the shadow from the debris coming up from the ground to attach his shadow, and as she dodged the shadow the first time, he used a new technique where he simply split off his shadow into multiple parts, catching her in a bird-like cage of shadow. He puts his hand up in the air, making her do the same, and then Shikamaru says, "I forfeit. My techniques cost me a lot of chocolate. I'm tucked it out and I can't hold this for all that long." The doctor heard his reasons and said, "Okay, winner by forfeit." Temari forfeits, saying that he does not have enough chakra to continue. His last technique costed him. After that, Shikamaru walked, and I couldn't help but think his mother would be upset with it for quitting so easy. The crowd enjoyed the fight, even though it was a quicker one. The next fight was Shino Aburame versus Sasuke Uchiha. As a fight begins, Shino sends out a wave of bugs, which Sasuke uses a fireball to burn them cinders, and Shino no-jump through the fire to stab Sasuke. He is successful, and there are bugs currently in his chakra system. But Sasuke simply transmutes lightning through his body to expel the bugs. Shino attempts to continue stabbing Sasuke, which slowly dims down Sasuke's stamina. Sasuke blocks and dodges with his Tanto, and fires a lightning ball from his sword at him, which Shino unleashes a new technique which sets his bugs. A flan creates a wall blocking the lightning ball. There's a blast of fire and lightning going through the stadium, and when it dies down, it sews Shino on the ground unconscious, leaving Sasuke as the winner. Shino knows taken to the medical bay, and Sasuke walked back up to the booth. I congratulated him, same with Naruto and Shikamaru. Kurama Takahashi versus Gaara of the Sand. My friends looked at me worried. They saw how Gaara defeated Lee. Except for Sasuke, I simply walked down with a careless smile on my face, saying, "I'll be justified this crazy. Redhead won't be enough to stop me." As the fight begins, Gaara is visibly off. His rockers, insane, absolutely crazy, and he starts calling out for his mother. Suddenly, sand races at me. I managed to dodge as much as I could, and as one is about to impale me, I cut it using the inverted spirit of heaven, canceling out the chakra, holding it in place. Gaara's face scrunched up in anger and yelled, "I will have your blood," as loud as you could. I then summoned my bird puppet and dog puppet to distract Gaara, as Gaara's sand is busy blocking and trying to attack my puppets. It left me with an opening to summon my new and improved Nervan Canthara that had a more streamlined design, without the sword in its head, and a more samurai-esque-looking design with a pseudo-samurai helmet crown and a large Nodachi that was special vibranic. Sword that vibrates with a specific chakra level to forcefully cut by adjusting its chakra vibranic. Me and the improved Nervan Canthara rush forward, both performing the flame-breathing first form, unknowing flame. The user dashes towards the target at tremendous speeds before unleashing a singular horizontal slash directed at the target's neck for a decapitation. As we pass Jim with blinding speed, 2 slices appeared across the chest before Gaara can process his new wound. I used my hyper mode on both myself and puppet, rushing at Gaara again, slashing at him multiple times as me and my puppet went in for the final attack to slice off Guard's head. He promptly falls unconscious, and suddenly a massive roar tears through the stadium from Gaara, and sand gathers around him in a ball that the chakra vibration sword was not able to cut because the chakra vibration changed, but I was able to cut it. And from the opening, a giant sand hand, afterwards feathers were seemingly falling from the sky, talked to her. She instantly recognized it as a Jinjutsu and dispelled it, seeing as the sand siblings were dashing off with their hurt. Gaara, who had sand covering the half of his body. I performed the hand signs, and suddenly my newest mass-produced model of puppet appeared, the Hound series, Hound Pavelpol, a tall series with orange highlights and tan leggings, along with tan sleeves. The face was a metal white mask with tiny horns. Colored orange stick it out. This series was meant to be an extreme mass-produced model that could be adapted to the situation and work in tandem with stronger puppets and people. About 30 of them appeared. I had 10 more saved. I gave them instructions to help out the shinobi in the ring. They were specifically made to work in tandem with higher levels ninja. They had a decent amount of strength along with stealth, and they had knowledge of intermediate Taijutsu skills, so they would do the Chunin much good. And if the Jonin were surrounded, they would also perform admirably. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Sasuke came over to me, and I told them, I'm gonna go get Gaara and the Sand siblings. You should. After I jumped and ran toward where I saw the Sand siblings were going, as I looked behind me, all 3 of them were following. We discussed a plan. Apparently, there were 9 shinobi following behind us that Shitamaru would stay behind to take care of, but he assured us that he would not be alone and that a Summer Sensei with Surly on his way. Conqueror stood between us. Me and Sasuke simply ran past them as Naruto proceeded to get in a battle with him. Next to Temari stood on our when we attempted to move faster. She simply made a wind wall to block our path. Sasuke gave me an opening, and I took it to go after Gaara. Guard was standing in a clearing, obviously waiting. I saw as Gaara, his upper body was covered in sand and looked like a tanuki or a Japanese raccoon. He shot his hand out at me, from which I proceeded to jump over and summon back my improved Nervin Canthra, along with 2 of my Nervin series. Nervin no iron, similar to the Nervin Canthra but black, wider, and able to be mass-produced. One had a wide greatsword with a long handle. The other had an large axe. The last was holding a experimental gun. I had made specifically a chocolate-powered cool bird kunai launcher. It was in the shape of an old-style long rifle that could shoot a miniature-sized kunai at rapid speeds. Gaara continued to throw his sand at me and my puppets, but I had every one of them dodge. And the one holding the rifle shot at Gaara, but it did nothing more than distractive, which was what I was going for, all things considered. From that, I had my 2 puppets, the one holding the long sword and my improved Nervin Canthra, interchange attacks with Gaara by one at a time, going in to slash him from different angles, confusing him and angering him further. From that, I had the puppet who was wielding the axe come up from above, who was promptly shredded to pieces, but from the pieces I appeared and promptly stabbed down at Gaara, impaling. Hit me away. My sword was still stuck in him. He screamed in even more pain, but before he had time to throw another attack, I had snapped my fingers and a sudden explosion appeared in front of her. He was confused and attempted to attack me directly. I dodged the hand he threw at me and pulled out my knuckle cool knight and used fire to increase their cutting capacity and cutting through his sand arm, which promptly regenerated. From there, I cut myself on purpose and spread the blood over Guard, who was in confusion. And from there, I activated my decay technique, and he suddenly got slower. He attempted to keep attacking in a crazy frenzy. While this was going on, my puppet, who was laying back with a rifle, was continuously shooting Agara, angering him further, losing his accuracy. His attacks were nothing more than a child, flailing at this point, but I had to put this flying child out of his misery. I used my cleave technique to slash at his chest, many times causing profuse blood splatters. And as I thought the battle was over, he muttered a jutsu, sleeping mole jutsu. And after you finished speaking, suddenly, sand erupted from the area, and I had me and my puppets run away from the area of effect. It would be ran for about a good bit away, and when I looked back, I saw that in Gaora's place was a giant tanuki with one tail. The size of the giant tanuki was about the size of the entire Chunin exam stadium that we were just in. My puppet with the rifle were torn to shreds, but I still had my longsword puppet and improved Nervin Canthra. But I had trained for a month just for this situation, just in case something that would be bigger than my imagination would come. I used my time cell Moon Palace. I gained this skill in my 1 month of training. The skill in question would create a barrier that from the outside would look like a giant black ball in the area, while on the inside would be a starry night sky, and the person who's stuck in the barrier would be on the green grass under its glow. The effect of the skill would force others to follow predetermined motions set by the user. It would beam the motions into your head like an animation, and if you didn't follow those motions, you would be frozen into a frame. So the user would send a vision of someone getting punched in the face a couple times, and you would have to act in complete accordance of that vision or be frozen. After every vision, the next would come in immediately at steadily increasing speeds. Think of it like a cutscene, or how in a fighting game, when you get command grabbed, your character cannot resist at all and must go through the entire attack. Even if you could dodge his attacks, you are forced to act out the animation in your head like being stuck in a cutscene. And within the ability to constantly repeat the opponent's actions in the form of animations to give their brain an info dump to either immobilize them or hinder their movements. I used a specific technique to send information to Gaara's brain rapidly to wake him up. When the black ball shattered, it showed the falling red hat. I was content to let him drop to his death. But suddenly my blonde friend caught him out of nowhere as I attempted to go to my friend. I collapsed. That technique took a lot out of me. And the next thing I knew, my vision turned black. But beforehand, I heard a notification from my system that said, leveled up, new title acquired, projection mask increases projection manipulation by 30%. Level 50 HP 3000. CH10100 ST200 crit 250. Titles: Alpha Pack, Animal Lover. Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor. Projection Master. Level 50 HP 3000. CH10100 ST200 crit 250. Titles: Alpha Pack, Animal Lover, Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor, Projection Master. My vision was pitch black, as if my eyes were closed, but I could feel my body. I moved around, feeling the softness of a comfortable mattress beneath me, but also sensing the unfamiliar presence of a bed around me. Slowly, I opened my eyes to see a white room, a familiar one, the hospital where I had first collapsed from chakra exhaustion. I was confused. I had passed out in the forest after using my time cell moon technique against Gaara. As I looked to my side, I saw Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke sitting beside my bed on a couch. Hinata was slumped over, sleeping on Naruto's shoulder, while Sasuke sat up, eyes closed, snoring. I decided not to wake them and instead looked at the notifications I had received while I was asleep. These were notifications I wasn't aware of. Honto no Jinso Jutsu. Skill allows the user to create and manage their own YouTube channel more efficiently and with less energy consumption. Kizutome Scale allows the user to stop wounds in vital areas from worsening. Chakra Manipulation. Level increased to rank A. Weapon acquired. Split Soul Katana. A powerful broadsword with a fur tsuba that can ignore physical resistance. Base damage 150, durability 1000. Quest completed. Defeat the Sand Jinchuriki. XP earned 3050. Title acquired. The Black Wolf of Konoha. Earns extra XP when going on missions officially assigned by the village. Level 54. HP 3047. CH 10110. ST205. Crit 255. Titles: Alpha Pack, Animal Lover, Family Leader, Ultimate Gamer, Mad Inventor, Projection Master, The Black Wolf of Konoha. After reading through the notifications, I noticed a bowl of fruit beside my bed. With my friend still snoring on the couch, I began to eat in comfortable silence. I couldn't help but worry about my other friends, Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. I also wondered what had happened to the village after Gaara's defeat. About 30 minutes later, someone entered the room, someone who was quite prominent in the original timeline. She had blonde hair, a noticeable bust, and a diamond-shaped tattoo on her forehead. As soon as I saw her, I recognized her, Tsunade Senju. Before I could ask any questions, she spoke. "Your name is Takahashi Kurama, right? You've been out for the past 2 weeks. I'm the new Hokage, and I've been overseeing your recovery." Before she could say more, my friends woke up, and suddenly, I felt a heavy weight on my chest. Naruto was crying on me. This was strange and worrying. Naruto and Sasuke both tended to bottle up their emotions. Naruto with his cheerful mask and Sasuke with his emotionless one. So seeing him cry so freely was a surprise. I stayed quiet and comforted him silently. Tsunade ushered them out, and I told them we'd talk after my conversation with her. She began by informing me that the previous Hokage was dead. During the week I had been unconscious, Naruto was sent on a mission to bring Tsunade back. The Chunin exams promotion had been postponed until my awakening because of my actions during the exams and the battles that followed. She then told me about my injuries. I had suffered from severe chakra exhaustion. She concluded our conversation, assuring me we would have more discussions later regarding my personal projects. It seemed she was interested in my inventions, like the hidden blade and plows. She mentioned how she was curious about how I could contribute to the medical field. Just then, my friends rushed in, and at the front was Haku, looking worried with dried tears on her face. She wrapped her arms around me, resting her chin on my shoulder. I blushed as I felt her sizable chest against me. She started crying lightly and said, "I was worried about you. I'm sorry I wasn't there." Before she could say more, I gently tapped her head. "You have nothing to apologize for," I said, patting her back. She stopped crying and blushed, and I couldn't help but smirk at her flushed face. She then spoke more personally. The company Neon no Adarashi Hatsumi has been working overtime, especially in the construction and ninja equipment sectors. After the attack on the village, many buildings and fields were destroyed, but our company was selected to help with the reconstruction effort. I've also taken the liberty of offering more of your equipment to civilian households, most of which have accepted. The shinobi have decided to increase their gear stockpiles, and we've sold them at a reduced price for Chunin and above. I nodded. Good. I'll also introduce my new ideas since the market competition is low. I'll introduce washing and drying machines, chakra slips that change color depending on whether they detect illness or poisonous gas in the air, and 3D printers for plastics, light metals, and regular printing. Not to forget advanced cameras that capture color and entertainment options, like the Atari 2600 with Pac-Man, Super Mario Bros., and Space Invaders. Hinata interrupted, "Enough with the business talk. Let's just celebrate Takahashi's safe recovery." I had a feeling I'd be the one cooking, and we all headed to Sasuke's house. Haku and I got to work making crab wontons and gyoza. Wonton wrappers ingredients. Wonton wrappers, 3 by 3 inches. Vegetable or neutral oil. I prefer avocado oil. Water for sealing wontons. Imitation or real crab meat. Cream cheese, room temperature. Green onions. Soy sauce. Regular or tamari for gluten-free. Sesame oil. Worcestershire sauce. Garlic powder. Black pepper. Filling instructions. Chop crab meat into small pieces. Mix crab meat with softened cream cheese, green onions, soy sauce, sesame oil, Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, and black pepper. Heat oil and deep fry wontons until golden brown. Gyoza ingredients: cabbage, ground pork or chicken, garlic chives, dried shiitake mushrooms, grated ginger, soy sauce, sesame oil. Gyoza instructions: dice cabbage, sprinkle with salt, massage, and squeeze out moisture. Mix cabbage, meat, chives, mushrooms, ginger, soy sauce, and sesame oil. Wrap in gyoza skins, seal with water. Fry in sesame oil, steam with water, and crisp up the bottoms. As we ate, I couldn't help but think I needed to get stronger. My current abilities were fine, but for what lay ahead, I knew I had to improve. But for now, as I looked at my friends enjoying their meal, I thought maybe I could rest for this moment.